Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Hi everybody. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I think I have too much lipstick on. Let me do a little pout. That's a little bit better. I think I gotta put more on now. Anyway, yeah, I need to put more on. Hi, happy Monday, Man Up Monday. Thank you, Catalia. So listen, we have a really good show today. And this is going to be not the last live permanently, but a last live with the judge for a minute because he's about to hit the campaign road. We'll talk about that when he comes up. And did y'all catch? Well, I know y'all did. The Candace Owens interview. Yes, honey. It went viral. It was a good interview. A very good interview, and I heard she treated him very well before, during, and after the interview. Very hospitable. I heard she was very charming, right? Yes. So shout out to Candace Owens, and you know, when the judge comes up a little bit later in the show, I'm gonna have him do the recap of his interview. He has done some really good interviews this year. He was on PBD, I think, this year. Art of Dialogue, Candace, Megan. Yeah, doing a damn thing, and rightfully so. But this is home. All right. Also, honey, yes, we got to talk about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. He threw his woman under the bus. You know why? Because you don't play with the feds. You don't play with the feds like that. You don't play with the federal government. He knew not to. If you swear under oath, you better tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. And she thought her little letter was going to save his ass. So we're going to get into that. And Ashely Merchant, she was on her job down in Fulton County because she won the open records case, took the damn stand. A lot of times they say lawyers make the worst witness. Oh no, Miss Thing had her thing together, honey. We're going to mention that as well. What else I got on my list? I keep saying, and I want to talk about the Congressional Black Caucus. Yes, he told on Fani. Come and find out, honey, she pre-planned Trump prosecution with the Biden administration before charges were even brought up. Well, we're going to get into it. We have a guest. I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to bring him up as soon as the judge comes up. Mr. Charles Rambo is back. Yes, he is. And he is running for sheriff of Fulton County. Listen, it is early voting right now in Georgia. Y'all making records, breaking records. I think over 1 million people already voted early, the most ever. And this is just the first week. We have all this week and 2 weeks before the election. Yes, 2 weeks before the election. I was looking for a damn calendar. So he is running for sheriff of Fulton County, running up against Sheriff LaButte, the ex-porn star, with no experience. Right? This week, okay, next weekend. So 2 weeks from today, the general election for presidency and all your local elections. So Charles Rambo is coming back on today. I will be bringing him up shortly. Yes. We're just waiting for the judge, honey. You know, the Wi-Fi is the Pony Express. Yes. And he had a busy day. So yeah, y'all get on my nerves sometimes because y'all always complain, oh, you're disrespecting the elderly, you being up. He is not no elderly. He's older, but he is not no elderly, honey. But he had a very busy day today. So I'm glad he's just even able to do it because we were not going to do the show. I didn't think we were going to be able to do it. The live show. Maybe a pre-record Tuesday or Wednesday. We are doing a Twitter space tomorrow. I think he's going to be available to that, but I'll get into that conversation in a second. No live show this week, Thursday. Probably most likely no live week show next week, Monday and Thursday, because he is going to be on a campaign trail for, of course, Donald Trump. Tomorrow, every Tuesday, we do the X Space, and I'm calling it's a town hall meeting for men, particularly Black men. And I just want men to come up and speak to talk about why they are not voting for Kamala Harris. So that's going to be great. Mark Carter is going to be co-hosting with me along with the judge, if the judge is available. We have Dr. Julio. I asked a couple of other people to join. So X Space is going to be good tomorrow. And while I'm talking about X Space, there is an X Space that takes place every Saturday. Oh, honey, I pissed off some people in the Saturday X Space. Uncle Shut Up Space. I call that the project space. And everybody throw colorful words around. And one thing about me, you're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to call me out my name. And if you do, I'm going to check you to the fullest. And I had to check a couple of people because they called me out my name. Yes. But you know what they did? They went and created their own space and had a marathon for 12 hours focusing on me. I feel honored. I feel honored that I was on your mind for 12 hours. Yes, that I pissed you off that bad. And I look at it like this. If you were so mad about what I said, allegedly said, then you should be more mad that you're poor. People need to take that same energy and work themselves up out of poverty. Work themselves up out of oppression, out of despair. So don't take your anger out on me because I stung you with my words. Well, you tried to come for me and I had to check you. That's all. Now, during the space tomorrow, it's going to be a space about why Black men are not voting for Kamala Harris. But if anybody come up and they want to bring up that space from Saturday, you can. I believe in freedom of speech. Now, depending on how you say it and what you say, just be prepared for the rebuttal. Also, so tomorrow we're going to be on X Space. You know, I live stream the X Space on the other channel, The Real Judge Joe Brown. But join us on X at The Real Dana number 7. And if Judge Joe Brown is able to come on, at Judge Joe Brown TV, at Chicago Go Red, that's Mark Carter. It is still my birthday season. Yes, honey, we are tippy-toeing into so-called Scorpio season. I think Scorpio season starts on the 23rd. I don't know because I don't pay attention. But I said that I'm celebrating my birthday all month long, which means my birthday registry is pinned in the chat. Yes, it is. You could go and buy me a gift card, buy me whatever presents I have there, or you could send in a cash present. Yes. Thank you to Mr. Thomas, because he got me my martini set. Remember last week, Thursday, I said I wanted this martini set from William Sonoma. He purchased it for me on Sunday. So thank you, Mr. Thomas. Yes. And guys, you know, if you are upset, oh, people can't afford groceries or their gas, rent is high, or inflation not high anymore. The economy is bad, blah, 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 blah. That's not my problem. I choose to celebrate my birthday this way. And it's my right to. If you don't like it, just say happy birthday and keep it moving. Or don't say nothing at all. But don't complain in my comment section, because I'm just going to delete your message because it's not on topic. And that's another thing. Everybody in that love room and commenting in the comment section, please comment on the topics. Because if you don't, I'm going to delete. Some people are high because you're just annoying. Comment on the topics. Stop focusing on me. I know I'm irresistible. I know. But stop focusing on me. Stop being mad, honey. Be glad. Put a smile on your face. Here we go right here. Typical Black woman, begging, so pitiful. See? Oh, by the way, I am going to change the chat to subscribers only. So all you haters, you're going to have to subscribe to my channel in order to chat in the comment section. Nobody's not begging. It's called marketing. And it's my birthday. And if you want to, you can. It's not mandatory. I do see the judge. He looks so cute. He looked nice. He looked sexy. So anyway, guys, if you have a question, comment, please send it via super chat. Please like this video, share this video, and behave yourselves. And enjoy the show. Hi, Judge.
How you doing? How's everything with you?
Good. You look nice.
Thank you,
Very
my dear.
studious. Well, I don't want to waste any more time because Rambo is in queue. I want to bring him up first before we get into your day. Mr. Rambo, here you go. Hi.
Well, good evening to everyone.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear him? I can hear him.
I can't hear Mr. Rambo.
Can you all hear me now?
Hello?
You can't hear. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me either?
Oh.
Testing.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3.
I hear you now.
Okay. So who
Who
do you hear? Do you hear me or do you hear Mr.
Both
Rambo?
of you. I hear both of you now.
Good. Yeah.
I hear both of you as well.
So how are you?
I am doing good. It is a pleasant pleasure to be back in you all's presence again.
Yeah. So this was, I think, a month ago. We had you on. I interviewed you, and then I had you come on the show. You are running for sheriff of Fulton County, and you are running up against Sheriff LaButte. So how about, please tell the audience about you.
Well, again, and I thank you for this opportunity. My name is Charles Rambo. I am your write-in candidate for Fulton County Sheriff. I officially qualified back in March 7th, 2024, just before the primary. I want to make that very well known. This is because what happened, I participated in quite a few debates during the primary election, but that did not eliminate me. Many people thought that because I was in the primary, that when the current incumbent won the Democrat primary election, that sealed the fate. That was totally false and untrue. By law in Georgia, a write-in candidate already advances himself to the November 5th election. That's by operation of law. That was one of the reasons why I took advantage of that moment. I say that is because now that early voting has begun, many constituents, from senior citizens to young folks, from North Fulton to South Fulton to Atlanta, are very livid to find out that the incumbent literally was misleading in the public that he won re-election by a mandate. 54% of the vote is not a mandate. In fact, if I had entered that race as a Democrat, I definitely would have pushed that into a runoff. on the Democrat side. But I chose to be nonpartisan this time. So wherever we go in this early voting process, I mean, people, they essentially remember me from interviews on television, previous times that I've ran, and it's like there's a surge of excitement that I really was not expecting. So things are working together exceedingly and abundantly above anybody's expectation of where we're going towards November 5th. You can check out my website, sendinrambo24.us, the Constitutional Sheriff Initiative. The only plan, you can check out even my opponent's website. There's nothing there. That's not a slap in the face at him, but how can you lead forward if you won the primary election and you don't have a plan to move forward with all the issues going here? So I look forward to answering any questions about the progress since we've last talked. But I'm really looking forward to this race because it's gearing up to be very exciting.
Has anything changed since the last time you've been up here for your campaign?
Yes, ma'am. One of the key things that has changed is that out of the 3 invoices that were due to different contractors, the Board of Commissioners decided to just pay one of them, the least amount, but put pressure back to him to find his own money inside of his own budget, because essentially as a constitutional officer, he signed off on the contract for this third-party security company. Again, I can't tell you what sense that makes in bringing a third-party security company into a constitutional function. Nonetheless, they agreed to pay, I believe it's $635,000, but still told him, you on your own on the rest of them. And Bob Ellis, who has been one of the most staunch conservative, fiscally responsible persons on the board, really put it into perspective that no one could argue with. So now we have the sheriff that is still on the hook for over $1 million or $2 million worth of contracts that still have not been paid. And then we're getting ready to come up on an overtime issue that they're not going to have those funds come November 1st to potentially pay staff for overtime.
What happened to the money?
That's a good question, Judge. That deserves a great financial, fiscal, forensic audit. And I believe that's not something that I'm saying I'm ordering. Should I do that? Of course, on day one, I'm inheriting everything that is happening in this administration. But at the end of the day, I believe that the Board of Commissioners already have the receipts on everything and essentially could release that information anytime soon. I don't think that the Board of Commissioners are going to allow themselves to be backed into a corner to make believe that they have to pay for the incumbents' mistakes.
Now, it's early voting in Georgia and it's record breaking. Are you seeing any results in your favor so far?
I've not seen any results. Typically, the Board of Elections and Registration keeps that information tight to their chest. But when I heard that millions of people came out to vote, I mean, at the end of the day, we were campaigning all across the county. And I incurred Republicans on the north end who essentially said they are not voting for him. I've incurred a lot of people who did vote for him in the primary and did not see any improvement since his so-called win in the primary election. So many of those people from out of his own base in Southwest Atlanta, were either indifferent about voting for him, but nonetheless said, well, not said indifferent about potentially voting for a write-in, but certainly said that they were not going to be re-voting for him. So I've been keeping my eyes and ears to the ground at the polls. What I did see is that all of a sudden he came out with a surge of campaign signs up in near and around mines at different polling places after early voting began. He did no campaigning at all. Over, since the primary, thinking again that he could use low information to suppress the vote in the mindsets of people that made it believe that he won. Well, you did not win. And essentially, I'm still calling for the debate for you to come out in these last couple of weeks and show the people that what you're deserving of whether or not you could get a second term. Otherwise, I'm ready to move forward in my administration. The last portion I'll give to that is that what I did do, and it kind of earned a few smiles on the commission board, is when I stated I would prefer for them to pay at least the security company and get them wiped off of the that general fund debt and get it out of the way, because I don't need that coming into my administration. Potentially in the next couple of weeks, they could be dealing with somebody coming in with a whole different budget policy.
Do you have a question, Judge?
No, I'm getting the information that I was going to ask for. So yeah, it's pretty clear. That whole Fulton County, from what Dana and I have seen, talking to a lot of people in that county concerned with or running for various and sundry offices, something is not kosher. And I would suggest to you, when you get the office, that is basically one of the high-ranking law enforcement officers in the area, you get one of your detective crews looking to see where the money went, because it looks like, quite frankly, we've been looking at money laundering schemes to misappropriate and conceal the expenditures of public funds that are not going for the benefit of the public. Might want to take a look at it.
And you're absolutely correct, Judge, is that, again, potentially and prayerfully, November 6th, going into a transition period, I do plan on hiring or bringing in on my transition committee a person who has experience in government, finance, as well as relations with the Board of Commissioners. Going in during that transition period, seeing where that dollar, where those dollars follow up to, and take it from there.
So I want to ask you also, Fulton County in this election, usually a lot of times write-ins don't get a lot of votes, but it seemed like, your situation is different, it's unique. And I want you to tell the people, if you are, and I think you will be, if you are elected, what will you do differently? Because this administration is under a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of corruption going on, a lot of chaos. It's a crisis, Fulton County crisis. So tell the people, and especially the people in Fulton County, what would they get if they vote for you?
Well, I'll answer your question on the front end, but back it up to something that's very important to the front end of what you said. The first thing is that under the Constitutional Sheriff Initiative, as I explained in the last podcast, if it cannot be done according to the rule of law, then I have no business as the sheriff doing it, because as long as I've got case law, so long as I have statutory law, as well as federal and state constitution to back up what I am doing, there's nothing essentially that the Board of Commissioners can deny me in my funding of. So the first thing is to establish an Office of Sheriff Budget and Management, similar to what we see in Washington, D.C., but this will be specifically focused on a performance-based budget that will show the commissioners, hey, here's how much money that I need in order to execute my TPOs, and here's a squad that's dedicated towards that. I need 25 people to help clear up this particular backlog, and if we hit the mark, then I can demonstrate here's how we use the money. However, if we go below the mark and it's outside of our budget, I can at least come in and say, here's where the money went, here's where it fell short, and here's how much more that I need. I think that that's important for transparency, not only to the commissioners, but also to the constituents. Second, most important, I will reintroduce a system called CompStat. Gentlemen, in your last podcast, kind of went a little critical towards me, saying that CompStat, was I proud of that? Of course I was proud of it, because I introduced it, 95.5% compliance ratings with a federal consent decree with one of the toughest monitors and toughest judges in the I forget what district, the Northern District of Georgia, Judge Marvin Shue. We were able to get that done. So I will introduce those performance measures to ensure that my command staff is in charge of the day-to-day facts without excuses. Third, competence, constitutional competence. We have to have a restored workforce that understands that when we apply the rule of law to everything that we do, from the Fourth Amendment to the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, preventing Eighth Amendment violations inside of the jail, we will have a decent criminal justice system that otherwise could take a turn for itself within the first 365 days of me taking office. But again, as I said, it takes the mindset of the leader. If the leader knows what he is doing, then that's a reflection of the workforce. Fourth is that we want to ensure that I have an intelligence-based civil and criminal process system that will allow us to be in control of knowing how to pinpoint areas in Fulton County and taking our warrant services, our law enforcement services, and delivering those in such a way that makes communities safe, particularly when it comes to domestic violence and mental health orders. I like to go into another phase of that, talking about neuroscience, but that's a whole different subject and topic. Last but not least, as I said, I am a subject matter expert in major county jail operations. Having resolved the consent decree, I expect that not too long, we probably will get the federal consent, the United States Department of Justice's report on the Fulton jail. They did it with the courts. I'm getting my tongue tied, with the Georgia correction system here just recently. So those are my priorities coming in day one. And I'm looking forward to it. Many people ask me, what the hell is wrong with you? You want this job? This is what I was born to do.
And this is what I wanted to say also, because when you go into office, you're going to be doing a lot of cleanup because it's a mess. And a lot of times when you have a new administration coming in to clean up somebody else's mess, that new administration tend to be the fall guy for it. So, I do believe that you are up to the task, but, what do you say to people who may criticize you during your administration because they still don't see things changing maybe fast enough, because you may come across some criticism once you are elected, because you're still probably most likely going to have to deal with Fani Willis, and she brings her own drama, with lawsuits or what have you. So how are you going to deal with the criticism, once you're in office? And then also just, how long will you think it'd take for you to clean up the mess that the prior administration created?
Well, and that's what my opponent specializes in finger pointing, and that's been publicized. That's not something I'm making up. And essentially trying to point the finger to past administrations about the mess that he inherited. I understand the mess I'm inheriting, but at the same time, even if he won, he has done 3.5 years of a mess that he would have to unravel just to get to the mess that that he inherited. With that, again, that's why with subject matter expertise, when you know what you're doing, half the battle is already won. The troops there have my absolute trust. They know me. I've trained the majority of them. I probably trained half of the county in law enforcement management and operations. So I'm looking forward to having a dedicated workforce that can come in and get behind their leader. Are we going to get criticism? Of course we're going to get criticism. But at the same time, I'm going to be able to show results. In fact, I want you all, Dana, you need to come down so you can do a live podcast when everything is in motion. And Judge, I need you to come and do a man-up session so we can push these guys out back into the community, being more responsible than what they were before they got here.
I'll be there this weekend.
I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Give me a yell.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that you two do link up while he's down there. I think it's me, my audio. Sorry about that.
Give me a minute. I'm going to have a thing I just remembered on the dryer going off, so I don't want it making a loud noise. Let me turn it off.
Okay.
I can hear you with the earphones walking around, so.
Well, Dan, I want to come back to a point that you made earlier in terms of, I'll leave it alone because I think we've established it essentially that with everything that is going on, if you actually won the race in May, then why have we not seen any progress? Why have we not seen an actual plan of action to demonstrate that you are ready to move forward? I tell you right here, I would have dropped out the race. I would have dropped out the race and said, well, go at it since I see that you have some action plan. Only thing that we've seen him do is responding to more and more incidents and more lawsuits that continuously pile up against the agency. Again, draining the general fund.
I wanted to ask, and you may not want to comment on this, and I get it, but because me and the judge we're gonna talk about this once I let you go in a couple of minutes. But a lot of things going on in Fulton County. Georgia has early voting. It started last week, Tuesday. Record breakings, over 1 million people already voted in the first week. Ashely Merchant won her lawsuit for the open records case. And I want to ask, how does that affect you, the sheriff department?
Well, in that particular instance, because we're two separate constitutional agencies, what happens over in the DA's office does not affect me with the type of subpoenas that she was seeking at one level, because it looks like everything is focusing at the whole Trump accusations. For me, however, at the same time, that's why I'm glad being a constitutional equal officer, executive level, is that I do plan on being that sheriff that stands up in terms of having the judges and the prosecutors get on top of these cases for speedy trials. I will go so far as to say it wasn't until when I came on the Laura Coates show on CNN and stated what I said objectively about our criminal justice system and the backlog of inmates inside of the jail. Within a short period of time, the same number that I stated was the same number of people all of a sudden that started getting released. So again, it's about stepping up, not being a bully, not being, somebody that's coming in arrogantly, but I'm paid to do a job. I'm elected to do a job.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, listen, I said I wanted to have you come back on, definitely give us an update, because again, a lot of times write-ins, you don't get that support financially, media-wise, especially when you're going up against someone who's running for re-election, who's already in office. But something has to change in Fulton County. And this is one last question. Something has to change in Fulton County. So I want to ask you, the people that live in Fulton County, that's a big county, do they want to see a change? And are they actively seeking a change, not just for the presidency, but for this is local elections. And I always say this is very important for people to vote in the local elections. So do you see the people of Fulton County wanting a change?
I see them wanting a change only because more or less in this election cycle, it's now hitting their pocketbooks. As Brian Kemp said, this election, not necessarily the sheriff, but elections all the way around are going to be based upon how well and how bad people feel the pinch inside of their purse strings. And our criminal justice system obviously is taking a great toll, more or less because of the number of lawsuits that are being filed for negligent death, negligent operations inside of the sheriff's office. And at the end of the day, from North County down to South County, again, you always have that voting block that says, well, I don't give a damn, my kid ain't inside of Fulton jail. Well, let me tell you something. I can tell you many times about the affluent as well as the not so affluent folk that call me when their kids get in trouble. And then that's when all of a sudden it becomes very important. At the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that the inmates that we have can go back out and be productive people as opposed to coming back out being a better criminal. So that should be something that you should be paying very much attention to. I want to come back to the right end just real quick. So as I stated before, I've run Democrat before, so I'm not a unknown name. I just chose a different route. People resonate with me everywhere that I go throughout the county. Was it a challenge for me? I'm going to tell you, I answered the call from the Creator to do this. And one day I'm going to come back on your podcast and tell you everything that I was going through before I decided to run that will blow you and your your audience's mind of why I decided to get into this race. So in all honesty, I have to give acknowledgement that it is the Creator that put me in this position in order for me to draw some attention. And it has drawn a lot of attention. And I have been receiving blessings after blessings for being obedient. I've got a box truck running around here with my name on it. I've got a big LED screen, TV truck that's running around the city right now. So every time and more that I'm obedient to what I was called to do, as long as the Creator is satisfied with me, as Dick Gregory said, the worst thing that a man can do is to be anointed by God to do something and give excuses on Judgment Day of why he didn't get it done.
I love that. And with that said, thank you again for coming on and giving us an update. Judge Joe Brown, he will be in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia this weekend on the road campaigning. So I'm going to make sure that you two link up. And when you do, make sure you take pictures so we can post it on social media.
And listen, this was a Judge, I want you to know that I've just received so many calls since the last time in you discerning me, sharpening my iron to make sure that I was on the right track. So again, I thank you for taking the time out to be with me. And I also want you to know, Dana, again, I'm still getting some contributions from your audience. So I want you all to continue. I'm not a person that's asking for $1,500. I'll take it if you want to give it. But if you all would that are out there listening, help fund our campaign to go to this last mile. Send a 5 or 10, $15, $25 contribution. Send in Rambo 24.us, or you can cash app it to a specific official campaign cash app, and that's $ right in Charles Rambo. $ right in Charles Rambo.
Thank you, Mr. Rambo.
Thank you, sir. I'll be there.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
And I'll be there a little bit longer this weekend. I think I'll be in the area for about close to a week.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to connecting with you, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rambo. Appreciate you.
Thank
and
you,
we'll
Dana.
talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, guys, yes, I put the link to Mr. Charles Rambo's website. Go donate. And if you live in Fulton County, go and vote for Mr. Charles Rambo for sheriff. When you go vote, a lot of places, especially in the South, and I have to get used to this because I'm in the Midwest, you vote for your judges, you vote for your sheriff, you vote for a lot of different things. So it's very important to know, well, who are these people and what do they stand for? So I appreciate the fact that, he came up here twice. He has a very experienced background. He has a very strong agenda that works. So go and vote for Mr. Charles Rambo for sheriff of Fulton County. You need to change.
I think he gave LaButte what limited training he did get some time ago. So
well,
you want the student or do you want the teacher?
Great point. So let me be messy.
Let me say something else. Did you see what happened with Wade's testimony in front of Congress? We're not going there yet?
Well, no. That was next up because I was going to ask, did you want to go to Ashely Merchant or you want to go straight into Wade and Fani? Because yeah, Big Fani might have the feds arresting her. How
Yeah,
your
well,
man
did
throw
you
you
like
under
that
the
part about
bus?
the meetings to discuss how to go after Trump?
So let's talk about Fani first. We'll get to Ashely in a second. Let me pull up the receipts. Wait. Ooh, child. Wait a minute. Let me see. Which one? I got several receipts. Which one I want to pull up first? He went in there and told every damn thing.
Yeah, he wants testimonial immunity. See, that's what what's her name did. What's the stripper that they had testifying against Trump? I was telling you that if you looked at it a different way, she blackmailed him, so they were threatening her with being prosecuted for blackmail if she didn't testify, and that all over the place, basically salacious, irrelevant testimony she gave was an example of what people do when they have testimonial immunity. The more you talk, the less they can use on you.
Yes.
So anyway, what's her name? Stormy Daniels. Yes.
Yeah, Stormy Daniels. So, okay. Well, listen, I guess, he was under oath. It was behind closed doors, but a House Representative, Jim Jordan, made the transcripts public. Nathan Wade admitted to multiple White House meetings during Trump Georgia probe. Transcripts suggest Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade met with Biden administration staff on at least 2 occasions during District Attorney Fani Willis' probe into former President Donald Trump. A newly released transcript suggests.
You know what they're getting into? In federal law, you can criminally conspire to do a legal act in a perfectly legal fashion. But if you conspire to do it, it becomes a felony. So it's not per se wrong what they did. But if the purpose was to conspire between agents of the White House and the current administration of the office of President of the United States and local authorities to, say, cripple an opponent or a likely opponent for the office of president, that would be conspiring, and the whole thing would become a felony. So Biden, Kamala Harris, and maybe not Mr. Wade, since he's testified, which would give him some testimonial immunity to whatever he sang and spilled his guts on. So some people might be in trouble, and Fani might be looking at an indictment or two if the right people get in office.
Right.
Wade really did not. One more thing. If Biden goes out, expect a rash of pardons to everybody that's in on those laptops with his son. Expect a pardon of his son, pre-indictment pardon, which can be the case. The people that were acting with them. Expect perhaps a pardon that he might issue on a blanket basis for all of the illegals who've committed felonies by breaking the American border illegally. And the prospect from that is mind-boggling, but this is what they call lawfare, the abuse of criminal process, which was the purpose of having a Bill of Rights, so you could prevent it. But to hell with the Bill of Rights, they're saying, let's go forward and we can do these things to get rid of political opposition. So we might have some interesting developments based on what happened here. And a lot of that's just because Miss Big Mouth had to keep singing away when she didn't even have to take the stand at the time. She insisted on getting up on it.
I was reading. She opened that can of worms, and I'm wondering if she would never had taken a stand. This was back in January or February. January. If she didn't take the stand, do you think she would have been in all this trouble like she
No,
today?
she wouldn't have. Eventually, but at least it would have taken a long time to come out. So on top, the latest little stunt with an email to one of the defendants in the rap artist situation, also charged with RICO. I mean, it's just like, come on now, one mistake, one error, and she was whining about, I'm a black woman, you should forgive me for one single mistake. No, it's a whole bunch of them, and they add up, so it looks like it's not a single mistake, but it adds up to what I was saying. When you get a career prosecutor, some of them turn out to be the most corrupt humans you can ever encounter because they don't care. They're not being fair. They're not dealing with justice. They're dealing with their own little weird egos and the excruciating need to win.
Mm-hmm. Well, it says here, Wade did not disclose the details of his supposed meetings with White House representative, including if they were in person or remote, but he acknowledged the existence of invoices and other records that indicated discussions occurred. At one point, the transcript shows Wade was asked about an invoice line indicating travel to Athens, conference with White House counsel May 23rd, 2022. Quote, so if it says conference with White House counsel, that will mean there was a conference with White House counsel, ? End quote. Investigators asked. Wade responded that the semicolon written after travel to Athens represented a separate thought. The investigator asked, so if you billed for a conference with White House counsel, would that have occurred? Wade challenged, if I bill for a conference with White House counsel, this document doesn't say that CONG, that's conference with White House counsel, happened in Athens. That's not what that says. Pressed again on whether the reference to the White House counsel meant he billed for a conference with such an official, Wade said yes. Wade later said he did not recall details of the meeting denoted by record reading. Interview with DC/White House November 18th, 2022, 8 hours at 250 hours, cost $2,000, according to transcripts.
Oh, come on. That's one hell of a meeting. That's like going through a course.
So he said that he didn't remember. So he was at the meeting but didn't remember what was said.
Yeah, I mean, that long in a meeting, a good criminal defense lawyer knows good and damn well what people are talking about in terms of theory of the case. You take notes, for goodness sakes. That's obfuscation. I don't even buy that unless he borders on incompetent.
It says, so I was asking if he remember whether you would have had a paralegal, someone that was on your team, or an assistant reach out to schedule this conference with White House counsel. I don't recall. Okay. Do you remember who attended this conference with White House counsel? I don't recall. Is it safe to assume, since you billed for the conference with White House counsel, that you attended this conference with White House counsel? Yes. Okay.
You know what? I can remember cases where I conferred with opposition witnesses, officials, and it's been 35, 40 years ago. And I can tell you what we talked about in detail. And this man just a few months ago can't remember this kind of thing. Oh, I don't buy that.
He tries to be a slickster. Where was I?
And then there's another thing too. There is this bit about when you're under oath or whatever, you make a knowingly false statement to a federal agency or official. And a representative in the House of Representatives is certainly such an official, and the agency would be Congress. And they are investigating the expenditure of funds and also the use of the American justice system, federal level of justice system. They're certainly entitled to bring great scrutiny to the process. That would possibly get making a knowingly false statement kick in, which from my experience, you get long indictments, you walk your client on everything but that one, making a knowingly false statement to a federal official, and they get a conviction on that, and everything else is an acquittal.
So it says, okay, so he said yes. Okay, do you remember if it was in person or by telephone? I don't recall. And if you don't,
come on.
and if you don't recall whether it was by telephone or in person, how would the committee figure that out? Would it be to get your notes? I think he's communicating with you. That was the answer. Question. Oh, you can continue to answer the question. I'm sorry. I was allowing him to, you go ahead. Yes. If the committee wanted to determine whether it was by telephone or at the White House itself or in Athens, would your notes that are accompanying the something that I don't remember. Oh no. Okay, this is something else.
Look, you mean to tell me that you actually go to a conference in the White House and you don't recall? Seriously? I can see I don't remember whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday that I went to the courthouse, but you travel from Georgia to Washington, D.C. to meet in the White House and you don't recall that? Oh, come on now.
Right. What is this one here? Oh, no. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, okay. Let me see. Let's see this one. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, wait. Well, how many pages is this? Damn. This is like a novel. Wait a minute.
Is it a transcript?
Yes, it's 132 pages in this transcript.
By the way, that's not a long transcript.
No?
When you do an appeal, you have to back up your averments of fact or your allegations of fact with citations from the transcript. So you have to give the volume of the transcript, the page of the transcript, and the line of the transcript. You see the numbers on the left?
Yeah.
You have to cite those numbers, and you say volume 2, page 817 or 81 through 93, lines 17 and through 13, last page you cite in there, and you have to show where these things are that you are alleging in the transcript. So the appellate court judges can look and read the transcript and see if the facts are as you claim them to be.
Should we go through these transcripts or we don't need to?
We don't need to. We'll see. This is going to get interesting. Just wait till the next episode.
Yeah, because basically he admitted that what transpired at the White House, he got paid. He sent an invoice.
Yeah, he billed the state of Georgia for this. No, he didn't bill the state of Georgia. He submitted the bill to Fani, and Fani okayed it. That's the other thing. When they got into that testimony, it developed that what Fani revealed by her ill-advised giving testimony in the first place was that essentially there was nobody there that needed to okay any okayed claim should she sent up. It got paid. She was the final authority. So she and Wade could have potentially split anywhere from $6 to maybe $7.5, $8 million when this was over.
Right. It says here, this headline, Fani Willis laid groundwork for prosecutor Trump before taking office, ex-prosecutor Wade reveals. So he also dropped that bombshell, that she was trying to prosecute him before she even became district attorney. So it says,
where did you hear that?
So this is here. It says,
no, not there. Where else have you heard that? Remember the appellate judges on Letitia James with the Trump thing up in New York when she campaigned on, I'm promising I'm going to get Trump. Everybody needs to file a lawsuit and cripple him and drive him bankrupt. We'll find something. In other words, you wanted to get this man, so you invented something to go after him on.
That is true. It says Wade served on that search committee, which was instated on day one of Willis' term, January 2021. After an unsuccessful search, Wade was ultimately invited to assume the role himself, which he claimed he reluctantly accepted. Quote, and so the search committee, you said that began when DA Willis took office January 1st, 2021. Is that correct? Yes. And was there outreach to you to be part of the search committee prior to January 1st? Absolutely, he confirmed, saying that outreach began sometime after the election, but prior to her taking office. The transcript of Wade's disposition Tuesday was released by Jordan's committee a week after the interview. The GOP-led committee subpoenaed Wade as part of the investigation into his relationship with Willis. Last year, Willis indicted Trump and 18 co-defendants in Georgia over their alleged efforts to challenge the 2020 election results in the state. So, with that said,
by the way, you notice the wording to challenge. There is nothing illegal about challenging an election. The congressional committee is setting it up to clobber Willis et al. And Wade because, you see, they put it out as to him to unlawfully overturn the election, but the congressional committee is saying challenging the election. It's your right to challenge. That's your right. That's right. Not anything illegal about that. So you see, the press has been using certain language that is basically inflammatory and presupposes a set of conditions that haven't been shown to exist.
It says that the invoices provided in the suit show at least one more meeting with Biden White House staff on November 2022 that appears to have taken place in Washington, D.C., though there is no record of visit by Wade in the White House visitor logs. So, but
that adds a little extra flavor to the whole mix. And in other words, you're attempting to conceal that there was a meeting. Now you have a reliable witness, an officer of a court, who has testified we did have a meeting, but the White House didn't record it. So that indicates that they nefariously were trying to conceal the fact of the meeting. So they could not be popped with the accusation of this was a conspiracy between you and the local prosecuting staff to find something to burden former President Trump with. So was there anything legitimate, or was this an effort to subvert the election or the electoral process?
So we always say Trump, Trump, Trump with this case that was put up against him, but it was 18 other people. So does this help the 18 other co-defendants?
Everybody, because it all hangs on the intent. They're basically saying that it is an act of organized crime, which is patently ridiculous since the organized crime thing presupposes that the criminal organization makes its income from the criminal activity, and there's no such income talked about here. It's interesting, for the term he was in office, he refused to cash his paychecks, so he wasn't even getting paid for it. So what exactly is he doing for criminal enterprise? In other words, trying to earn a living off of it. The whole thing stinks.
Well, so that
I like this kind of intrigue. It usually works out interesting. Much better than the stuff they think of on television, because truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah. So that took place in DC, and what happened today in Fulton County I was trying to get a shorter clip. This is kind of long, but
And by
Ash-
the way, they're going to
Mhm.
bring this back up in the state legislative body when they go back into session. And what's going to happen is if Fani doesn't
she was about to
comply,
say, "Come, Queen Love."
one of the three remedies that the Georgia legislature has is to deputize their sergeant at arms who can go physically arrest, detain, and transport Fani Willis back to the chamber. The second one is they can do that now without waiting until they go back into session. They can go to a circuit court and attempt to get the subpoena enforced. And by the way, she's already in violation of the subpoena. And if it goes to a circuit court, she's going to be required to show cause why she should not be held in contempt for failing to comply with the subpoena. And then the third remedy is for the legislative body to penalize the district attorney's office in Fulton County by withholding funds.
Mm-hmm. Well, it says here, the judge.
Boom, the people suffer.
It says the judge rules in favor of merchant law
Sure enough,
firm.
tough.
Can you hear me? Wait a minute. Can you hear me? Testing. Can you guys hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. It could be me. Wait.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Oh, they can hear me, but you can't. I wonder, should I go out and come back in? Give me a second. I know. 1 second. Just talk. Wait 1 second.
Do you need? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Wait, give me a second. I just want to see something. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
All right. It's this thing. I got to get rid of this broadcaster and this microphone. But you can hear me.
I hear you.
Okay. Ashely Merchant. What is this? Judge rules in favor of merchant law firm and open records dispute involving DA Fani Willis. It stemmed from a lawsuit in which Ashely Merchant accused Fulton County District Attorney's Office of violating the State Open Records Act. Fulton County judge has ruled in favor of a defense attorney and her husband in a lawsuit against Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her office on Monday. The judge's decision brought the case to somewhat a conclusion. Judge Rachel Krause ruled in favor of the merchant law firm and against the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for failure to timely provide the documents that were requested. She added that the plaintiffs could be awarded attorney's fees at a later date. It's unclear how much the county and district attorney's office will owe the law firm at this time. Oh.
Yeah, they have some clients and they were entitled to provision of these documents, and she stonewalled them again. And that's unethical. That's another.
So it says, it stemmed from a lawsuit in which Ashely Merchant accused the DA of violating the Open Records Act. Yeah, they was giving them the runaround, and then she tried to make it seem like they don't have to adhere to it, but they have been known to adhering to Open Records Act. So you can't say, yes, I've done it in the past, but I'm not going to do it for her, and I'm not legally obligated to do it, but you have done it.
Yeah, well, the Open Records Act says you have to supply the requested records, and she didn't. She thinks she's above the law. Remember, they're just doing it to her because she's a Black woman.
It says, the lawsuit accused Willis of hiding documents related to a media monitoring company, alleging the DA had used taxpayer dollars to pay for it. It also accused Fulton County DA office of not wholly, fully fulfilling open records related to non-disclosure agreements of employees. So
That's what they got Kamala about too, when she refused to release the records on the young man that had spent those years in prison for that homicide that she had exculpatory evidence on. See, these people think they're above the law.
right. You know, it's quote, she is the elected DA, it's her office. I think that every government agency has a duty to respond to open records requests. I think when you have an elected official, that they are the ones who are held accountable by the public. They are the ones who set the policy.
Yeah, that's like you're a ball player and you want to say, for this game, the referee and the umpire can't make the calls. I decided I'm going to make the calls. The ball was in, irrespective of whether or not one referee or several of the officials looked at the play, instant replay, and said the ball was out of bounds. And say, no, we're not going to let them do that. See, you just can't come in and break the rules that way.
Right. And it seemed like with Fani, it goes back to money, hiding documents related to media monitoring company, alleging the DA had used taxpayer dollars to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. And look at Georgia. What is the judge that had the probate court that was really too young and inexperienced to have it? She got removed for general incompetence. And she was paying herself out of a discretionary fund more than the Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court was getting. So how can you say, I'm just barely out of law school? I'm really kind of way down the rookie scale, but I decided to pay myself more than the experienced Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court. You know, you got a lot of nerve trying to get away with that.
Right. So that's the one in Douglas County. And then you also have, they're trying to get that one in the state of Illinois.
Oh, that magic mayor, the fool.
You said the magic mayor.
The fool.
Right. So it seemed like,
she's special.
Yeah. And it seemed like Black people are doing it to themselves.
Yeah, every time you get in a position to do something to really effectuate meaningful change, you blow it, you throw the opportunity away on selfish enhancement. Right. And you do it illegally and you wind up in jail or disgraced and removed.
Right.
And it's not even like, I mean, I can see somebody getting removed for a good reason where they're trying to stand up for justice, but just get removed because you're trying to steal. You know,
and hide evidence, or know,
they're on me because what is it? They both of them keep saying they're on her because she's a Black woman.
And she says, why are all of the Black attorney generals being targeted and nobody else? Like now she's bringing all Black. No, are you corrupt? White people get it too.
Well, look at Bragg up in New York. Look at the U.S. attorney up there that went after the mayor, New York mayor, and went after Diddy. And by the way, why is Diddy charged in New York when all of this stuff happened in Florida and California? What's going on?
Is it because it's a federal case?
No, they have federal district court in California. That's the 9th Circuit. And then they have it's either the 4th or the 5th down in Florida. So why didn't the charges get brought down there by the U.S. attorney in that area where these parties were supposed to have taken place in Florida and in California? So why no indictments returned in those districts? Why in New York?
Because I'm not saying that, listen, I don't know about the law like that, federal or state. However, when you look at this administration and you look at the people that they appoint in these positions, even on the local level in the state of Georgia, Democrats, right? They're doing a lot of corrupt things to where they're trying to ignore what the law is or create a new law or break the law to where, and then remember when Trump was president and they was trying to bring up all this dirt on people in his administration, even attorneys and stuff like that. So it seemed like this is a thing with whatever administration's in office.
Not every administration, just this kind of nerd administration.
Uh-huh.
And they think they're above it and they're getting revenge and they don't care. See, they've never been able to win playing by the rules, so they break the rules.
Right. Exactly.
And that is where it comes into play, where, wait a minute, this is supposed to be about fairness, not you satisfying your urge for revenge. And you see, when the White House staff gets with the local state prosecutorial office to plot and plan how they're going to find something on this guy, not where there's probable cause. See, in American law, if nobody knows about it, you haven't committed a crime. It's got to be something against the public peace, dignity, and order. And if you say there is nobody that I can find that's a victim, there's no public display of the criminality, but I'm going to find something to get this guy. I don't care what. I'll make something, and you conspire to go do that. That becomes a crime in and of itself. It's election interference.
Yeah, you're trying to bring him up on the charges of election interference, but you're the ones doing it.
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me remove somebody who is getting a little too
I am a doggy mommy.
rambunctious here.
Nerves sometimes. And you could pick up Jazz and we could see her in the camera. You can't pick that dog up. That dog too big.
Well, here. Come here.
Hi, Precious. Hi. What's her name?
This is Purity. She can't hear you.
Purity. Oh no, she can't.
She can now.
Purity. Hi, baby. Hi. Oh, I like her now.
Okay, now. You're a big girl. You aren't even a year old. Now get out.
She's not really, yeah. Oh, she big. Damn.
I
So
have my arm back, please. Thank you. Hold on. Let me put somebody over here in the holding cell for a minute. Hold on. I can hear you. Keep talking.
You have a cage for her?
Yeah, a real large one. She gets in it when she knows she's done wrong. I said, what did you do wrong?
What did she do wrong?
Nothing, but she's going to go get in it. She sleeps in it sometimes. She gets in there on her own. Come on, in the cage.
Wait a minute. So you don't have a bed? My dog.
She's got a bed. She just likes to get in there. Come on.
I never had a cage for my dog. He always had his bed. And and he knows his bedtime. Sometimes he is asleep in my room, but he gets up after a while and goes down in the basement on his bed or on the couch. My father can't stand that. And he needs pushing. He is for you.
She knows she can sleep. She can sleep in her bed. No, I just closed the latch because she can open it when she wants to.
Oh, she know how to open it.
Mm-hmm. Smart dog. The only one I really had watches TV. She'll sit there and watch TV. And if something's going on, she might bark at it.
All right. So let's get into here you go going. First of all, you went viral, but before the Candace interview dropped today, you were going viral when you went down to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago and you were speaking. It was like at a outdoor community thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some colorful descriptions of Kamala Harris, and you wanted to know where was her pimp. That went viral over the weekend. And then today you went on Candace, honey, and shut the whole thing down. It was over 50,000 people watching the interview. It was a good interview.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. See, one thing, there is a funny thing about prostitutes, hoes, and that type, and they don't necessarily have to be practicing prostitutes, but it's a mindset. See, essentially, people like to be accepted as they personally perceive themselves. So ordinarily, if you tell a woman she's beautiful, smart, charming, she'd say, oh, fine, I appreciate the compliments. But this kind thinks of themselves negatively. So if somebody says you're pretty, intelligent, and charming, oh, he's just trying to con me. But the pimp tells her she's dumb, stupid, and ugly. And she says in her sick mind, hey, he sees me as I am and he accepts me. And when he jumps me, he's punishing me because he sees how bad I am and I need to be punished. And they have a very, very low level of self-esteem. One of the things that I noticed in representing a lot of these ladies, including in this type, dancers, strippers, is they do this grin thing a lot. They're always grinning. It ain't funny. Why are you laughing? Ah. And it dawned on me, I said, literally, I recognize them because I represented so many, and that's exactly what you get with Kamala Harris. She has a massive inferiority complex that she has deep down in her soul. She is not being a good Hindu. She certainly isn't being a Christian, and she certainly isn't even Black. She's lying about that. So what she's trying to do is subsume an identity. It's like some other people we know who want to identify as a certain thing that nobody would say they are. It's like Aryans are supposed to be blonde haired, blue eyed, rather than looking like Kamala Harris, which actual Aryans do. So it's a lie that they have to themselves. So she's subsuming that she wants to belong to this identity group. Do you remember these starter jackets when all over the country people were wearing these Oakland Raiders starter jackets?
Yes.
I had somebody applying for probation. He committed a theft, and he and his buddy committed 2 robberies to steal these starter jackets from people. Strong arm robbery without a weapon. So I'm asking this guy, I said, what are the Lakers? I'm not the Lakers, the Raiders. It's a team. What kind of team? I don't know. Well, what kind of helmet is that on? What's a helmet? That thing that's on the decoration, you see the guy wearing on his head. Huh? The dude with the eye patch with the helmet. I don't know. It's a football helmet. It is? Well, yeah, it's a football team, young man. Oh, I didn't know that. But you wanted a starter jacket, and he wanted it so he could be identified with this big group of people that had him. He didn't know where the team was located, who the quarterback was, who the coach was, what their win-loss record was, even approximate. He didn't even know where Oakland, California was. So he just wanted to belong. And Kamala is illustrating self-deceit by trying to now identify with being Black, even though she's not. She wants to be welcomed into a group because she really hasn't done much for her own group, ethnic group, Indians. They've got a massive problem with the caste system that's being brought over, this untouchability. You can be a multimillionaire, you can own the business, but if you brush up against somebody, if you're descendant of untouchability, and you brush up against somebody, even though they're their big boss, they have to be purified because they touched you. And that's spreading to the United States. And even though she is an Indian vice president, she was an Indian senator, she didn't do anything about it. She could have. And it's a question of why does she grin at everything?
She could be nervous. That could be because sometimes
no,
You're
It's not
nervous.
nervous. It's an expression of inferiority when somebody is very nervous because they feel inferior.
Because
Not so much to black people, but just to the circumstances that she finds herself in. That's why she goes around and round with this mess. And I recognize that because a lot of my clientele had that problem. They felt very inferior to what they dealt with.
I wanted to ask you, so I don't think I'm gonna play the video because it's kind of colorful with the words. Or should I?
Go ahead, play it.
Yeah, but do you think it's safe to play?
Yeah, if they did it, it should be
I'm gonna
safe
hurt
to play.
somebody's feelings, but we got a witch running for president. That woman is the worst kind of sleaze you can ever think of. I was in California when it was going down. And I used to represent 40 years ago a whole chunk of pimps and hoes in Memphis. And I know a hoe when I see one. And when I see a hoe, I know she got a pimp. And I want to find out who the pimps are that we getting tricked out on the benefit of. Who are the pimps that this woman is working for? And I see some decent ladies out there. I've met a few of you. And I resent the fact that you got a hoe that's being your face. You see, tomorrow is yesterday today. So today was yesterday and it'll be tomorrow. That's why we have to understand today. What the hell did you just say? And you gonna fake off about being a Negro? I met a daddy. Sat next to the man for 2.5 hours at the Governor General's table down in Jamaica. My ex-wife asked him what he was. He said he was Irish and he was Hindu. She said, you don't have anybody black in your family? He said, no.
And so Candace, she started doing, she went down the rabbit hole of Kamala Harris lineage. But this was after you said that she's not black, right? So
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, you've been saying that. Yeah, you've been saying that for the longest. And so, well, Candace Owens took upon herself
Go look it up.
to go look it up, not even look it up, to go pull the documents from Jamaica everywhere else. So she went
and get witnesses.
And where?
Get witnesses.
Why
She
can't
got a
Give me
witness.
One second.
Go ahead.
Give me a second.
What's the
It's
matter?
me. It's me. It's me. It's YouTube. Yeah.
You got it fixed?
Huh?
See, what happened, we did this thing today. I was talking to her, and Kamala has this picture of her with a black woman, obviously a black woman who's supposed to be her grandmother. Well, Candace Owens got a hold of a good friend of the grandmother, and we have learned since that the grandmother died 4 years before Kamala was even born, so she certainly wouldn't be talking to an elderly edition of the woman who'd been dead for 4 years longer than she was alive, meaning Kamala alive. And the women that knew this individual, who was her actual grandmother, said that didn't look anything like her. She was not dark. She was very, very fair skinned and was an obvious Hindu. And that doesn't even look anything like the woman. So why did she fake that? You see, there is this thing that is disturbing, this laugh, which is psychotic. She laughs about stuff that's tragic. It's not funny. And you remember we interviewed Miss Peoples and she was laughing. Remember that? Oh, nobody got locked up. That under this adult truancy thing, nobody got locked up, and we just were listening to the woman describe how she lost a job in the nursing industry. Child had a stroke and is still paralyzed on the right side. She lost her home. job, everything, had to stay in shelters and what went on, and took 2.5 years before a judge dismissed the case. And she had been locked up, trapped, didn't get help she wanted. And she had all the I's dotted and T's crossed. And this clown is laughing. Ah, no one got locked up. Ah, like, that isn't funny.
She's trying to play the Obama blueprint playbook to run for presidency, but it's not working for her. And she's going to be the last person to use his playbook, because I really do believe not just Black people, but all of Americans is waking up to where we want to know your background. So Obama, listen, he got away with it for 2 terms.
Chick flick matinee star.
Right. And so, listen, we don't know what's going to happen on November the 5th. But sometimes people need to just realize, take the L and then focus on something else.
She doesn't need to be in politics, because she screwed her way to the top. And there's a problem with doing that, which is when you get to the top, there's nobody over you to screw to keep advancing you. You have to perform. It's like in Hollywood, there were some people out there that did the casting couch to get to the top. And when they got the lead parts, they couldn't pull them off because they couldn't act that well. Mm-hmm. So they just dropped into obscurity. And then somebody like Gloria Allred comes along and says, hey, it's not your fault. So we'll sue these guys and they'll settle to keep from having to pay all the attorney fees. So we'll get from them just a little bit less than it would cost them to defend it. It's like we'll get some money in.
It's a cycle of exploitation, but it's
exactly
politics.
It's extortion.
Yes. So Candace Owens, right?
Legal extortion. Allegedly.
Is it legal extortion though?
Barely.
Because it's fraudulent. And you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So Candace Owens, right? This is Art of Dialogue. He uploaded a clip. Judge Joe Brown says actor Jussie Smollett is Kamala Harris' nephew.
You also have Kamala, which, by the way, is the name of a Hindu goddess, and it's not a Black name. It's a Hindu name. And you've got her, she's isolated because who are her relatives? One of her relatives by marriage, his name is Jussie Smollett, the one that got caught up with that fraud thing. He's her nephew by marriage. Okay. You get this little picture, a family connection and the noose around the neck. And by the way, I interviewed several Chicago detectives and police on that, and I happen to know one that's a cop. He's back in the DMV area now. And Jussie and the bunch had been planning this for months, and they used to discuss it at this particular athletic club, and everybody knew it. And they got pictures of Jussie Smollett buying this noose during Halloween season at a costume shop. They've got it on video, and on security cameras, you can see him putting the noose around his own neck. And he had met with Kamala just before that, and she and Cory Booker, this is the same day when he flew into Chicago. They had been working on something that Conyers came up with in 1997 that is now modified and introduced as the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill.
Wow.
Remember the neck?
Yes.
And the whole thing, they went off and then they had to withdraw it because of the fraud that came out.
Wow.
Well, see, this is something they're trying to do. And maybe this will give you an idea of how they're sneaking around here. The Emmett Till anti-lynch bill has nothing to do with Black people.
No bill they put up has anything to do with Black people.
No.
Or just the headline. But then when you read it.
The headline does. Yeah. But what it does is it puts into the American federal criminal laws for the first time sexual orientation as a victim category for criminal offenses. Now, when you think of a lynching, you think of a mob killing somebody, right? Well, the Emmett Till anti-lynch bill, one, doesn't require a mob. It can be one person. It doesn't even require a homicide. You can kidnap somebody or beat somebody. And how does that play out? What happens, let's say you have a guy who's broken up with his girlfriend or his wife, and he's feeling down, and some of his friends say, hey, man, let's go to the club. So he goes to the club with his homeboys, and he's dancing with this PYT, pretty young thing, in a tight, short dress, big boobs, hoop earrings, braids, down her back, and they're having a good time exchanging spit over in the shadows and drinking wine. And then he looks down. Man, you got a heart. What are you? You got a heart on. And he busts him in the mouth. Now that's federal lynching.
Wow.
So
Bait and switch.
right. And we talked about that before. In the interview, it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, almost 2.5 hours. And I talked about a lot of things, but it was basically still under the umbrella, of Kamala Harris, this election and its administration and politics. But you also touched on Hollywood. And now I spoke to you earlier today when you were driving back. You said to me, and I wrote it down because I said, yeah, we got to talk about this. Politicians can control your everyday life, Social Security, healthcare, criminal justice system. Celebrities cannot. They can only fantasize and tell stories.
Yeah, that's the difference. See, celebrities who hold office, politicians, officials, they can do a whole lot of stuff. They create the rules that govern how you can operate your car. They determine whether you got alimony, child support, get divorced, you get sent to jail, you get out on bond, you get put on probation, whether the charges are dismissed, how fair a trial is. They can determine who gets the property, who wins the lawsuit. They can be people who are in the state legislative bodies, and they make the laws that govern how you can conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis. These people actually have consequences that they can vest that impacts your day-to-day existence. A celebrity can't do that. All he's doing is entertaining you, and you can always switch the channel or turn the thing off, and that's the end of it. But you can't turn off the law. You can't sit there and deal with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, got you in a war that could have been avoided, and you just got a draft notice and, report to your local draft board for pre-induction physical. We used to get those notices when you got a 1A classification. You get sent to the Nam, Korea, World War II, that kind of thing. You could die. And those are very important things because they impact your day-to-day existence. But celebrities, in terms of entertainers, they can't do that. They can just make you feel good or not so good, but we pay so much attention to them. But that's why I say I don't like the ordinary celebrity gossip, because it's meaningless. I can turn it off and it doesn't have a damn thing to do with my tomorrow.
But these politicians, Republican, Democrat, more so Democrats, they insert the celebrities in their campaign.
Why did they do that? Why did they do it?
Because that's a way of persuading the voters to vote for them. Likability, celebrity.
No.
Okay.
Donnie Fani Kelsey.
Oh, the bread and circus.
Yeah, that's Julius Caesar, 2040 some years ago. He said, feed them and entertain them, and they won't care what their betters do. In other words, focus them on the entertainments. That's why you see the Democratic Party, they've always got somebody doing a line dance. And it's interesting when the Republicans saw Trump do that at one rally he had, because the paramedics are working on two people that passed out. He just said, we can't proceed, so we might as well enjoy the music while the paramedics are working on these two separate individuals. The Democrats just badmouthed it incessantly because it looks stupid. What does dancing have to do with these other things that we're talking about how your life goes? What's the inflation? Are your savings still good? Did your savings evaporate because of unwise economic policies of the government, of trade balances that fell all apart? See, all of these things are important, and they impact you in your life as you go through life, as you interact with your fellow citizens. So it looks stupid when the other side is putting on song and dance, and you say, what does this have to do with it? And it always tickles me to watch the Democrats when they see somebody else do what they do. The Maharina.
We all fail. In the club, we are all family.
So, and the other thing about celebrities, some of them are wise. Look at this. This is ridiculous. What in the world? Is that supposed to induce you to vote for anybody? Whoever puts that on? If that induces you to vote in a certain way, you don't deserve to vote.
Exactly.
You're too big a damn fool. Not a fool, a damned fool.
But with celebrities and politicians inserting celebrities into their campaign, running for office, now, she went to church. They're calling it souls to the polls. Take your booty to the poll. No voting, no effing, or with a V or whatever. Now it's souls to the polls, inserting the Lord, praying over her. One person anointing this person to an office that do all types of evil things throughout the world. That's just the word of the world. But like, come on, black church at that.
By the way, I found Miss Owens to be a very personable individual, and she had her 3 children, 1, 2, and 3 years old, there with her every day when she does what she does, which is out of her home. She's very personable. She's got a great personality, so I was impressed. See why she.
You adopted her, and I'm like, okay, well, what about me?
Well, that's between me and her. I'm sort of everybody's granddad, so to speak. So she's a very intelligent and perceptive individual. She's got some interesting insights, and I'd have to say this, listening to her, I learned a few things, which is something I can't say often.
You never learn anything from me?
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, you don't have to disclose you don't have to disclose what y'all talked about, especially which I talked about off camera. But you did, you said you found her very charming, and and she treated you well from the time you were picked up to while you were there to you coming home. And that's, when you talk about professionalism, it's
yeah. And she's very knowledgeable about current events. She's been reading a lot of books and doing research on things. So she's not coming from a position of ignorance. She can cite facts and figures and give reasonable, rational, and logical and analytical argument when it comes to supporting her position. So I'm used to seeing good lawyers do that kind of thing, but not necessarily others who don't do that. And a whole lot of lawyers can't even do it. So I was impressed.
Yeah, you did tell me that you was very impressed. So, but it was a very good interview, and I think that was, and I don't know if she's going to go further down that rabbit hole, but I think like her research, and then to have you come on and just wrap it up in a bow tie and be like, here you go. If this doesn't convince you otherwise, then you're a lost cause, basically.
Straighten up the bow.
Yeah, I mean, she has done other research. She has done other research, and you know, some people may brush it aside or question it or whatever, but it's like, no, you know, here is a man very knowledgeable, you know, well known, and he is saying the same thing. So, yeah, it was a good interview. It's a very good interview, and she says she will have you back on, so I think that's great. But yeah, and like I said, you have been going, and sometimes I think that you intentionally be wanting to go viral. I don't know, but you have been going viral a lot just this year.
Well, the point is I owe it. I put a lot of time and effort into staying on top of things and analyzing stuff, and I've got a certain skill set. So there are people that need this. That's what leadership's about. I'm too old to be active with it, I guess, but not too old to be active with it. And it's like I see the need for guidance. Everybody that was an effective leader that I was aware of at a certain level is either no longer with us or they aren't what they used to be. And we need a new cadre of leadership in this country. And I think it's our obligation to try and breed it, teach it, condition it, and give it the experience and the apprenticeship that it needs to do what it's going to have to do when we're gone.
Right.
So
let me
there it is.
Yeah. And let me just say this one last thing. And this is for the viewers, and the people who always get this confused. So, you know, you've been on a lot of platforms, other people platforms. And when you go on other people platforms outside of this, they are interviewing you. Here, this is not an interview.
This isn't an interview.
I'm not interviewing this man.
He worries me to death all week long so we can do these things. And we talk 3 and 4 and 5 hours every other day. So this isn't an interview.
But we have been doing shows since 2020. All those lives and a lot of those videos are privatized. I'll bring those out later. A lot of what you talked about on Candace, Art of Dialogue, Megan, PB, we already talked about. It's just that those videos are privatized, and then not only do we talk about it, you talked about it on the show, we talk about it offline in real life. And you know, when we do the show, sometimes I just be wanting to do current events, right? Because I heard it already. But I think for people to understand, this is not an interview.
No, it's not. See, here's what I'm doing. Propaganda-wise, there is an old saying, tell a lie long enough and loud enough, and you can get anyone, including the liar, to believe it. But the truth is more effective than the lie. And the problem is people subsume that or assume that the truth is so self-evident, they very seldom speak it. But you need to keep speaking the truth so people hear it, you know, like that song that you keep hearing in your head that you're sick of thinking of, but it just pops in your head. The lie does that because the lie is told over and over and over and over and over. But nobody tells the truth over and over. They just, well, everybody knows the truth. No, they don't.
And which is why I'm glad when you go on these bigger platforms, these are people that they get more views than cable TV news, more views than CNN and Fox and MSNBC. So it's great when you get to go on these platforms and speak the truth, because then it's a further reach. You know, it's a further reach, which is very, very important. But make no mistake about it, honey. Me and him was doing these shows. They watch, which is why they get his agent get that call. Yes, and that's great, and that's what you want.
Well, all I'm trying to do is help people to see the light. See, you can't appeal to everybody, but what you have to do is you have to capture the cadre of future or would-be leaders, and you get to them and you give them the guidance. Like, you've ever heard of the Greek philosopher Aristotle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who's his most famous student?
Wait. Don't tell me. Alexander the Great.
That's it.
Yeah.
So everybody knows who both of them are, the teacher and the pupil.
Right.
Alexander the Great conquered the known world, but his teacher was Aristotle.
It's a couple of things I want to bring up before I get to the super chats. And I keep saying Congressional Black Caucus, but you were busy this weekend and you didn't feel like pre-recording it Sunday. I said, okay, well, if you got time, we'll talk about it Monday or whatever during the week. Should I table the Congressional Black Caucus? Because it's like, okay, let's talk about the history.
What have they done? Briefly, their history is they formed the Black Caucus as a group of people who would reinforce what each other happened to be doing for the interest of Black people. That quickly fell by the wayside and they got captured by the Rainbow cult. And now the Black Caucus is officially just an adjunct of LGBTQIA+. Nothing against them, that's their business, but it's certainly not doing anything for Black folk. And they're also self-interested and they're cowards. They won't rock the boat, but they will appeal to Black people to put them in office so they can do what they want to do for the new group they have become new members of. In other words, it gives them an opportunity to cop out so they don't have to honor their responsibilities to the people that they look like. And they also can say, I resigned, I turned in my resignation as a Negro, so now I belong to something else. You know, they can belong to this rainbow instead of the Black thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a way to escape your duty, honor, and obligation.
But when the Congressional Black Caucus was formed in the late 70s or early 1980s?
70s.
Late 70s. But when it was originally formed,
it wasn't late 70s. It came out of the same thing that produced the Black Student Union, Black Student Alliance, a lot of the community things that were going on in the late 60s. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It followed from what happened with the riots that occurred all through the late mid-60s or mid-60s in the United States, all around the country. So it was
1971.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. It isn't the 80s. It's a long way back. So it started off small, but it was doing stuff, but now it's not.
So that's what I'm saying. The original intention for it vanished.
Well, yeah. Let me give you an example. Let's take Jackie Robinson, the baseball player. He broke the color line in Major League Baseball. But he didn't just come in and do, he's the first Black person, African-American, Afro-American, first Black person. He really did something. I remember I was listening with my old man with some of his buddies, and they all had their cars parked, and they'd each start their engines up so the radio wouldn't drain the 6-volt batteries in the car. And we were listening to Jackie Robinson in a Dodgers playoff game for the pennant. The Dodgers were behind 1 run in the bottom of the 9th, top of the 9th. And what happened was it was 2 outs. So Jackie Robinson came up to bat. He got a base hit. He got to first base. So it's 2 outs. Dodgers are behind by 1 run. If they lose this game, they're knocked out of the race. So he steals second base with 2 outs. So he steals third base with 2 outs. And with 2 strikes and 3 balls on the batter, he steals home. So that was such a bold move. Everybody wanted somebody black on their baseball team. The Dodgers went on, and in 6 more innings, they won the game, and they wound up getting the pennant. So Jackie Robinson just cut up, but he had more going than that. He was an ROTC cadet at UCLA. He was All-American as a football player. As a halfback, he ran track. He held the American record at one time for the 100-yard dash and the 220 dash. And he never even played baseball. He ran track and played football. But he was such a good athlete, he could play baseball. Now, he didn't just leave it at that. He had character. Rosa Parks wasn't the first person to get arrested for refusing to move to the back of the bus. There were several other women that got arrested, but even before that, 14 years before, what wound up happening is Jackie Robinson was down in Texas with the 761st Armored Regiment after he got transferred there out of the 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers. And he escorted a fellow officer's wife home, took a cab, but, you know, money was tight, so he took a bus back to the base. So they told him to move to the back of the bus. He refused. He wound up getting arrested and court-martialed, but he was in uniform, and he had his .45 auto on his hip. And the testimony at his court-martial was that he pulled his .45 out, jacked around in the chamber, and said, some MF is going to die tonight besides me. So he had Texas Rangers, the local yokels, and some MPs. And he wound up getting acquitted, but he had hurt his ankle playing football, and he had waived the exemption, and then he unwaived it and resigned. So he was trying to figure out what to do. So they said, why don't you go down and apply with the Negro Leagues? And he said, well, I don't know how to play baseball. And the men said, well, Captain, when you up to bat, everybody backs up 15 yards, and you the fastest man in America. Can't anybody beat you running the base? So the Dodgers liked his attitude. They hired him along with Roy Campanolo and Don Newcomb. Campanolo was a catcher, and Newcomb was a 17-year-old who wound up being a black pitcher who is the only baseball pitcher to ever win every single award that a pitcher can win. And I talked to him, and he talked about
You spoke to Jackie Robinson?
no, Don Newcomb.
Don, okay.
And he told me about Jackie. He said Jackie Robinson had a horrible temper, and they kept having to control him because, you know, this black-white thing was a serious business back then.
Mm-hmm.
And one time this pitcher deliberately tried to hit him with the ball, missed 2 or 3 times, and finally hit him. So Robinson was going to go out and bust him in the mouth, according to Newcomb. But this guy, Chuck Connors, ran out of the bullpen. White guy, tall, blonde, white guy. You may remember him from The Rifleman. That was the black and white cowboy western thing. And he ran out of the bullpen, busted the pitcher in the jaw, and cold cock knocked him out. So for the rest of everybody's career, he was Robinson's bodyguard. So when Robinson wanted to go jack somebody up, Connors would do it for him. But you see, we don't have anybody like that now. Obama got in office, and when he got elected, I told people he's a fraud because he doesn't have any proposed legislation. If somebody's serious, they've got 50,000 pages of proposed legislation. Within 2 weeks, they're going to get in while they're riding the crest of the mandate to get passed into law. He had nothing, and he had every opportunity to hit a grand slam home run, steal home base, whatever he wanted to do, but he didn't. So he was a fraud. He didn't take the opportunity to do what he could have done. And Kamala Harris has just been come F me and, give me an advance and, don't worry about whether I can do the job or not. She's not very bright. So
Yeah.
it's like, what are you going to do? Seduce Putin? He's probably going to say, no, I've got better than that in the other wing of the Kremlin. Watch, come here, baby. See, this is what I like. You're an old 60-year-old woman. You're an old hag. Forget you.
It was yesterday, yeah. Well, there's one more thing I wanted to bring up. Why, this is an article that came out via the Telegraph. Why Black men in Martin Luther King's hometown won't vote for Kamala Harris. Now, tomorrow at X Space, if you're available, Judge, because I know you're getting ready to go out of town on Thursday, but we do the X Space every Tuesday. But I thought you was going to be out of town, so I was going to do it anyway, but I was going to do it with a couple other people, and it's going to be like all men, particularly Black men, why Black men are not voting for Kamala Harris town hall meeting. So if you want to be around, we can.
I'll be there.
Okay.
One of the things I'm hearing is Kamala Harris represents most everything that a lot of Black women don't like in a Black woman. In other words, she's all the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see a mother. They don't see a charming companion. They see somebody that's kind of psycho. That laugh throws a lot of people off, like that chick is too damn weird. Something's wrong with her. And they don't like what she represents, which is sleaze. In other words, you think of your mother. Do you want her to be the poster child for what your mother is, your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your aunts are, your grandmother is? And do you want America to, not America, but do you want the world to assume that all of the women in your life are like Kamala, who is, I can just see the Arabic world discussing her in the event she was president. They never did send her over there as VP because that was just entirely too negative. She is a harlot in their eyes. Well, so it's a joke.
It says here, why Black men in Martin Luther King's hometown won't vote for Kamala Harris. The Democrat candidate is struggling to win the support of African Americans who feel she is prioritizing identity over policies. And I
what the hell do you stand for?
Right. It was something, one second. There was something in here I wanted to highlight because, it says here, a recent Siena College New York Times poll found Trump's support among Black men has grown by around 5 points since 2020, a small but significant figure in a close race. A second survey by Howard University of Black voters across the battleground states found more than a fifth of Black men under 50 said they plan to support Trump. And they did lay out some of the reasons, particularly this one particular man, his appearance in a deep, blah, blah, blah. It says persistently high inflation and immigration are key drivers. And the ex-president has connected the two by suggesting that illegal migrants are hurting the economy and taking Black jobs. Trump has made open play for a group who could prove divisive in the battleground states, potentially costing Ms. Harris not just Atlanta, but also imperiling her margins in Detroit and Philadelphia. Trump told African Americans thinking of voting for a Democrat that they needed their head examined because they are really screwing you, he said in a rally in Atlanta. And there's this one particular Black man who was 38. He attended his first rally. He said illegal immigration had disproportionately affected workers like him in construction business. So they're not stupid. And I'm tired of the media and other politicians and just random people in that Democratic plantation trying to label these black men that choose to vote for Trump or Republicans as dumb, lazy, ignorant, don't know no better, right?
Calling them coons.
Yeah, calling them coons. And it's like, no, they know why they're voting for Trump because of the illegal migrants
See, here's the thing.
taking the jobs.
The real coons are the black males that are voting Democratic. Why? Because they are conditioned to vote no other way. They're acting like domesticated animals, like trained dogs. They can't do anything otherwise because that's how they've been conditioned. They're slaves in their minds. They belong on the plantation. Problem is the plantation they're on doesn't have any cotton to pick, but they can make rainbows. So what they do when they support the Democratic Party is not support themselves. They support the LGBTQIA caucus, the Liberty Caucus, the counter organization to the Black Caucus, and you're supporting the Rainbow Coalition. You're not supporting yourself. So what is the purpose? You get Roland Martins and you get Al Sharpton. He shows up like he's some kind of simp at everything, always there with he ought to be chicken enemy number one with his bobblehead self, and he always sounds stupid and ignorant.
I'm gonna play that clip once
practically illiterate when he talks.
Well,
so
maybe
what's his opinion? He's just a Negro on a plantation. It's a good yes sir boss. You show right, boss. And the same thing with Roland Martin, the Pillsbury Doughboy with chocolate chips. He doesn't even realize it. He sounds just like one of those yes niggas. Show enough, boss. You's right, boss. You show right, boss.
Well, this is, you know what? Just quickly, because this is a and then I want to get back to the migrant thing. But this is not Roland Martin. Damn, I'm getting my cotton.
They're all the same. Roland
Right.
Martin, Cory Booker, Al Sharpton, you name them.
So she does a 101 with Al Sharpton.
I've known you a long time, and I know you have thick skin. But I'm not asking you as a person, because I know you're used to that. But what does it do, in your opinion, to the standards we're setting for our young people all over the country when we're using this kind of locker room street talk about an opponent for president of the United States?
So the American people deserve so much better. That's how I come at it. And to your point, the president of the United States must set a standard, not only for our nation, but understanding the standard that we as a nation must set for the world. You know, we as representing the United States of America walk into rooms around the world with the earned and self-appointed authority to talk about the importance of democracy, rule of law, and have been thought of as a role model, imperfect though we may be, but a role model of what it means to be committed to certain standards, including international rules and norms, but also standards of decorum. And what you see in my opponent, a former president of the United States, really is, it demeans the office. And I have said, and I'm very clear about this, Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. He has not earned the right. He's not earned the right. And that's why he's going to lose.
You know what? She's got nerve saying that. Everybody knows, and she knows she slept her way to the top. She was the harlot of Babylon. Incarnate. Well, and you want the young women of America to say the way to get somewhere is to be a harlot and sleep your way to top instead of having performance and excellence. where you got assigned the task of being the primary diplomat to Europe when Biden couldn't get over there because of the Ukrainian indictments pending against him. And you failed that and got known as Miss Word Salad because you were too lazy to prep. You had the border czar and you failed that miserably. And then you were in charge of the $42 billion program that seems to have disappeared. It was supposed to be getting internet access for rural America. And that seems to have been another failure of yours. You failed at everything that you've been given as a task to accomplish. When you were a U.S. Senator, not one piece of legislation that you sponsored ever got passed, not one. And you never came up with anything yourself. So what did you do as that? You were a failure as a prosecutor. You didn't diminish crime. You just took cheap shots. You were known for your inequitous treatment of people. You kept people whose time had been served in just so you could get them as slave labor to fight forest fires for free. You kept innocent men in prison that you knew had evidence that you possessed that exculpated them, and you didn't do anything about it. You sat there and you hoard your way into a job that when you were in your late 20s would be paying right now somewhere around $180,000 and $190,000 a year for showing up for a few hours a month, and you couldn't even get those meetings. You got moved up by your boyfriend to another one that would be paying almost $500,000 a year now. That's usually occupied by somebody in the late 60s or 70s who was in the medical profession, which you weren't. You got every opportunity. You got in under affirmative action program for people that were supposedly from a deprived background, but your mother was a specialist in oncology, cancer research. Your father was a professor. That's not exactly what you call an academically deprived education, but she didn't do well in that. She took 5 years to go through as an undergrad after a full year through a prep college up in Canada. And she took that time. So what exactly did you do in your whole life that shows excellence? Answer, nothing. She slept her way to the top. She played the harlot of Babylon.
Wait.
And what is she going to do now?
Well, so it's like you can't say he doesn't belong behind there because you're not qualified. But I want to swing back because she is the border czar. And just to bring in when I was bringing up Black men voters, they are feeling the effects of the illegal migrants taking their jobs.
Which is why inflation.
Right. Which is why they're not going to vote for her, because at least they know Donald Trump, he is going to close that border and deport a lot of them. But I want to play this clip here because we have a new 2 or 3 caravans. They're trying to get here before November the 5th. So let me just play this clip real quick.
What you found and what your sources are telling you about what's actually going on here. And I'm sure you've spoken to some of these migrants, AKA soon to be illegals, coming up here.
Well, the disaster continues. This is all responsibility under the Biden administration, the Kamala Harris and Biden administration. And for everybody to know, we have documented 11 caravans. Out of the 11 caravans that Real America's Voice News has documented, 10 of them have happened under the Biden-Harris administration. They just released 3 caravans in the past 3 weeks, 3 of them under the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, the first woman president. This is the biggest one. 2,500 migrants just walked yesterday. They just said, you know what, we are not going to wait for the CBP-1 app. And a lot of people do not know what Kamala Harris just did. A couple of months ago, she created the CBP-1 app application, this application to bypass immigration into Tapachula, Chiapas. The CBP-1 app was not working in Tapachula, but she knew that this massive influx was going to come because they know that they're losing this election, and a lot of the migrants are going to try to make a run for it. So she created this deterrent for them to not look bad, but it just backfired on them, and it has been continuous caravans after caravans after caravans. And this is a massive one. It's 2,500 people. Central America, South America, people from Haiti, and also people from Africa. And as you see on the video, the majority of them, as always, are military-age males.
All right, Oscar, when you say they're coming for the border, are they going to try to overrun it and sneak in, as times we've seen when they just try to plow through the fences? Are they tired of waiting for their appointment with the CBP1 app? Or will they flood the CBP1 app and take a seat in the line?
You just said it, Grant. They're not. We asked a lot of them, and they said that they are tired of waiting just 3 to 4 weeks, and sometimes they wait 2 to 3 months. They said, we're not going to wait for it anymore. We're just going to go to the borders to see an open border gap, pay a cartel member or pay a smuggler, try to deliver ourselves to the Border Patrol, and just, enter illicitly into the United States of America. That is the new process. This normalization of entering illegally through every border has a collateral damage, and it is all on the responsibility of the Biden-Harris administration. This is the collateral damage it has created alongside the continent. Also, Mexico is complicit because it is allowing these caravans to continue. And the new president, I don't know what she's doing, Grant. She's allowing 3 caravans to continue right now before the 5th of November. So they know that there's changes that are going to happen drastically in the United States of America, and this is the last chance that they have, possibly.
I talked to someone today who said the Mexican government's play on this is basically a form of diplomatic extortion, which is, we're just going to let it go until you send us some money. And that's how Washington's viewing it, which is really remarkable. You said something a little bit ago, and I see it in the video that I've seen today. You've nailed this. A lot of the people coming in the country are young military-age men. Not as many families as you would normally see in some of these earlier caravans. Why do you think that is?
Well, they're being admitted and they're being embedded by the current administration. That's one of the things that President Trump did in the past administration. He got out of the global compact on migration. That is the #1 problem. The United Nations have complete power of the United States borders. So if Donald Trump comes into office, he gets out of the global compact on migration, this will be resolved. We will go to back to law and order, to see what are the legitimate cases of asylum and refugee, not, the average asylum and refugee claim that these are economical migrants. They don't qualify to enter into the United States of America. Adding the fact that all of these people, they're entering unvetted, unfiltered. You have a lot of unaccompanied minors walking with adults. We don't even know if they're their parents or not. You have this huge problem of multiple unaccompanied minors being lost in the United States of America. So this has become a huge problem. So this is the #1 thing, to control all of this, the new administration, the Trump administration absolutely needs to get out of the global compact on migration. That is the #1 problem to control.
You mentioned
military age, young military age adult males. China said they're going to attack Taiwan and seize it in 2027 or not long after. You see all of these several million Chinese nationals who've come in who are of military age, and they appear to be organized in a platoon structure and squad structure in terms of you watch them and they split off into squads like an army platoon. They have camping equipment that's uniform. They have cooking equipment that's uniform. And they say they came in from China. It took them about 40 days to make the trip after they landed in South America, Central America, or wherever. And they walked across the border, they disappear. I put a connection on this, but I think it's 82% of the gantries that are used in American harbors to unload these container ships are made in China. And they've been finding these strange devices that appear to be communications devices that are welded on in armored compartments that they can't open without deactivating the devices, meaning the gantry cranes. And they look like they are communication setups that can be activated if somebody needs to detonate, say, these military-grade explosives that they can bring in copious quantities. They don't need to hijack airplanes like in 911. They can bring the stuff across the border, which it looks like they have been doing. They get government transportation to wherever they want to go, principally the battleground states, which are heavily industrialized areas. And they set the explosive charges and they just wait And I don't even think they'll have to go detonate them themselves. These communications devices on these gantry claims will be activated, and the detonation signals will be sent out, and 911 will look like a little Boy Scout adventure.
Yeah. Well, what they said in that video, they said CBP One mobile app, right? This is U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It says, as of Monday, September 23rd, 2024, migrants with the CBP One appointment in Brownsville, Matamoros will be processed and the B&M Bridge at the B&M Bridge. Migrants with confirmed BBP 1 appointments should present themselves on the south side of the bridge. No appointments will be processed at the Gateway Bridge, blah, blah, blah. So there, what is this mobile application thing?
In other words, you go online, you bring it up, you can fill it out and get expedited. But you see, most people have to wait years because they have to go through these courses where they study American law, American history, the principles of government,
what it used to be,
the culture. Yeah. And then they finally get sworn in by a federal judge. These folk will be fast tracked. And see, there's something else too. If you are declared to be a refugee, what winds up happening is there's an already existing fast track, which means you become a citizen automatically within 5 years, of your declaration as that status. The president, as chief diplomatic officer under the Constitution, can declare that anybody who came in 2021 will be declared a refugee. And we don't know, wait a minute, check this out. We don't know who's going to be in this group. So anybody that's in now will declare their refugee status from 2021. And what that means is automatically in 5 years, you become a citizen and you can vote. Guess when that hits? That's midterm for the next administration, 2027. So all these people would be able to vote, and they've been sent to these battleground states where they will be able to perhaps ensure that the Democrats will be able to maintain their power and pick up all of these offices in the midterms if the people are sufficiently grateful. So that may be a rationalization for what they're doing.
Let me say this, because this CBP1 mobile app was created October 28th, 2020. U.S. Customs Borders launched a free CBP1 mobile application. That was the last year Trump was president.
That was 2 days, that was a week and a half before the election.
Yeah.
But you see, they haven't been processing it. And you know how anything the feds come up with, it's like if you want to go online and apply for Social Security, you can, but it's clumsy as hell. It's a whole long set of things you have to fill out. But if you call and make an appointment, they'll call you back in 2 or 3 weeks and you can complete the whole application process talking to some real live human on the phone in 5 minutes. So
that whole program started in 2020 because this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, they knew what they were going to do. This was intentional to have open borders. It was all intentional. So a lot of things are done intentionally. I think the lockdown, that was intentional. And now they have to come up with a new scheme. So what is the next new scheme? Because they're good for coming up with these illegal schemes. So I want to get to the super chats.
One other thing, remember, the people that are offended by the fact that B-1 and B-2 bombers are dropping guided ordnance on them in and about the Middle East with that Gaza problem, they would love to shoot down some of these former SAC bombers, Strategic Air Command, but they can't because they don't have any surface-to-air missiles that can do it. But they can come over here, cross the border with military-grade explosives, RPGs, And they're already inside, and they're not one or two operatives. There are tens and hundreds of thousands of them. Just imagine that you have let in several million military-aged males, several million. We don't even have that many in the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
And we let them in, and these people in the Middle East hate our guts. The Chinese want us out of the way, and they'd like to do it so they can do surgical strikes without destroying the property interest that they've acquired. And this is this woman's job to prevent this from happening, and she failed miserably at it.
Well, she didn't fail because the whole plan was to let them in. So
well, that's true, but I'm just saying security.
You can't fail at something if that was your intentions to do in the first place. Did she break the law? Yeah, because that's not your job to let them in. Your job is to prevent them from coming in. But sometimes was to let them come in.
Sometimes take a look at the oath of office for the president and the vice president. And one of the things that they take an oath to do is protect the country. And have they done that? That's what I'm saying is a failure. When you have compromised the national security, you failed at your job, even if that was your intention. Right. I don't doubt that what you're saying is not true, but you failed at your objective of being either the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military,
right? But you're trying to say
or next in line.
You're saying Trump should not be behind that seal at the Oval Office. But bitch, y'all shouldn't be there now.
Now, let me say something too. I studied propaganda for a whole year at UCLA amongst some people that really knew what it was about. And one of the things that the Nazis did, that the Democrats do, is while they're doing something wrong, at the same time, they're accusing the other side of doing the wrong, and they will also brag about what they're doing in an offhand way. So when you put the two and two together, if you want to find out what the Democrats are doing, just listen to what they're accusing the Republicans of doing or what Trump is doing.
Right.
And you'll find out what they're up to.
Let me get to the super chats. Thank you, Walter Wilburn, for the super chat. Appreciate you. I put this up earlier. Big Fanny might have the feds arresting her. For your mouth to God ears. Michelle Williams, good job. I like your show. Thank you. My name is Nathan Wade, but I can't recall. I wanted to put that up there. That was funny. Thank you, Va. Thank you, Christelle Pixiano. Mm-hmm. Kamala Norris. Former Georgia governor was with Wade. That's his lawyer, and it's also Big Buck's Fanning lawyer. Is that a conflict of interest? Sounds shit. Yeah. How can one?
Well, you know what? Actually, I was remarking on that to a lawyer just the other day, and we both said, wait a minute. These two people have an obvious potential conflict. Was there a waiver of this conflict, full and knowing waiver? Because either Fani Willis or Wade will have to throw the other one under the bus.
But so he did. That's what he did. That's what he did last week.
Yeah. So how can you represent one when the other one is something else? And by the way, is he getting paid, and who's paying him? See, technically, since it's a wrong being done by Kamala Harris, she's not entitled to have the state of Georgia pay for her attorney fees. She's supposed to come out of her own pocket.
Messy. He threw his woman under the bus, honey. Kamala Norris again. Why is Wade state attorney meeting with federal attorneys about January 6th? What am I missing? Order of mendacity or something smells in Denmark. Hi from Denmark. Shout out.
That's Shakespeare. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Oh, I thought she was from Denmark.
No, that's Shakespeare. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. In other
which
words,
Shakespeare play is that? Hamlet? Where?
I forget, but anyway,
But
let's see. I might be able to think of it in a minute.
But no, forget it. The question is, Wade State Attorney meeting with federal attorneys about January 6th. What am I missing? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was more in line with what are you doing meeting with federal officials about how to prosecute Trump for a state violation, alleged state violation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
See, that thing with Stormy Daniels, that's not going to stand. It's going to be ranked even worse than what Letitia James did to Trump. And we were looking at the video of the appellate process and how the judges just jumped her with a pair of football cleats, you know.
Okay. We have another one.
That's not going to stand. That's just ridiculous. The judge didn't charge the proper law. The evidence was deficient. There were some presumptions. You heard the judges. How are you going to prosecute this man for a criminal offense and there's no victim to the crime?
Oh, one old guy's opinion. Cackling Comrade Kamala is a transceptic, in other words, trans.
Yeah.
Dana need a new. Yes, I think I do need a new mic. One old guy's opinion. The judge knows cackling Comrade Kamala is a 304. Yeah, instead of calling her the hoe, call her 304. Because 304 is spelled whole backwards or upside down.
Excuse me. You know what I don't like about that?
What?
This is the United States of America, and the word whore, prostitute, harlot is in the Bible. So you can't use a biblical term to describe somebody and
the word
a synonym.
Well, it's harlot. The word harlot.
The synonym for harlot is whore.
Yeah, but the word harlot is not the word whore, and the word whore is not in the Bible.
No, I mean it's a synonym. And the other thing is but the other thing is whore is in a lot of law books. It's in a lot of written and printed decisions that is case law on the subject. And it's like, what does the Bible say? The whore of Babylon.
Does the Bible say the whore or the harlot?
No, the whore of Babylon. So you can't take a biblical term and use it?
Well, you're not using it biblically.
No, what do you think a whore of Babylon is that we're talking about?
Yes, but you don't always call her whore of Babylon. You just call her
hoe. Well, that's an abbreviation. But anyway, the problem is they allow full frontal pornography. And you know some of the stuff we've seen that people posted when we were doing X-Space, it's just filthy stuff, excreting in somebody's mouth, you know, which is just absolutely ridiculous. But that's okay. But then turn around and you want to say you can't call somebody a whore, but you have full frontal prostitution being shown or pornography being shown.
So if we, freedom legally you can, but just like the word nigger.
Well, let's put it this way. Whore.
It's not against the law either.
I know, but whore has a legal significance in terms of the law. It is appropriate as a usage within American law and the common law of England that goes back 1,000 years. So if you've been using this term, it's like call somebody a bitch. But then if you go to Wimbledon, or not Wimbledon, but Westminster dog show, what do you call a female dog? It's a bitch. And like Tennessee, they used it. Yeah, they do. And Tennessee has a statute which, you know, freaks people out when they first read it.
But the thing is, you could call someone a whore. That's not against the law.
No, it's not. So what's wrong with calling somebody in the most apt description? A woman's a whore.
I just say pull back on it because sometimes it's redundant. And then two, I want the ads to play. That's why.
Yeah, I get it. But the problem is, like, for example, Tennessee has a statute.
I need to get to the other
Well, let me just give the statute. It's funny. You know how the statute reads, the caption?
What?
It says, the offense of allowing a proud bitch to run at large.
So disrespectful. Well,
No, but you know what they're talking about.
Women running? I don't get it.
No, they're talking about a dog in heat.
Oh, okay. Well, why is
So
that on the books? I don't get it.
That's the name of the statute. It always, you have to give it to law students.
I see what you're saying. So even the law used the word bitch when it comes to legal statute.
That is a specific criminal statute in Tennessee, allowing a proud bitch to run at large.
You worked on a lot of cases.
Sure did.
With pimps and hoes. So is it somewhere in the law that says whore, hoe, or pimp? You know what I'm saying? Is that in any law?
There is in the definition in the statutes dealing with assignation, solicitation of prostitution, pimps and whores, and that is the term. A whore is a prostitute.
Okay. But hoe, but you always
whore is just an abbreviation.
Oh, okay.
Reduced to hoe. And that's like bad English, but what the difference?
I see what you're saying. Judge knows, cackling comrade. Kamala's at 304. Watch the Candace interview with the judge. Great stuff. Another great show tonight, Dana. Thank you, one old guy's opinion. Appreciate you so much.
And by the way, one other funny thing, I had a final argument in a murder case, and this chief witness for the prosecution was a whore, a prostitute. And she came in this short dress and everything hanging out at the top. And my client had no record so he could testify. And his daddy was a preacher. You know what my concluding argument was? I said, ladies and gentlemen, defense will conclude this. The question is, who you gonna believe, a hoe or the son of a preacher man? The jury started laughing and they came back 20 minutes later with a not guilty verdict.
Mm-hmm. You said that story before.
I know, but I did use it in open court, and I had and allowed it in testimony in open court. So
Lap D SWAT 1 says, good evening, Judge. Do you think the House of Cards is about to be exposed with the celebrity arrest? Do you still talk with Jason Black?
I haven't talked to him in a while.
And do you think the House of Cards is about to be exposed with the celebrity arrests?
You know, it's like if you're doing something wrong, it's a good idea not to bring attention to yourself, but this stuff has had attention brought to it, and some old practices are being brought to the fore again. And it's, for example, everybody's heard of Shirley Temple, right? The late Shirley Temple, little cute girl that was in all the 1930 movies.
On the good ship, Lolly.
Yeah, that one. Do you know what her agency's name was?
You did tell me. What was it again?
Kitty porn.
Wow.
See, so that says something. In
I heard
other words,
tragic. Isn't she still alive? But I heard
no,
her
she's
still...
not.
She died.
She be 98, 99 years old, 100 some years old if she was still alive.
Oh, she died in 2014.
Yeah.
I heard her story is not, her life story is not good. Like she was 85 when she passed away. She went through some things. She was taken advantage of as a baby, like as a kid.
Yeah. You notice they always had her with these.
Wait. The video, and I think it was either The Good Ship Lollipop or was something. It was a song she was singing in a movie.
Good Ship Lollipop.
It was a train car full of men, and she's walking down the aisle, and then they're lifting her up in the air.
Yeah.
Looking at
little
that
short skirts, and she's always sitting on some old man's lap, and he's grinning away.
A train car full of men, and they're like, and then lifting her up and sitting her on laps and cheering along. I'm like, no, that's creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy if you looked at it.
But they
absolutely creepy.
But it was in a movie, a black and white movie. So back then, they took that as, oh, little girl singing to grown men. It's harmless.
No, but there was all kinds of innuendo. See, back then they were
that's what it was.
subtle. They had innuendo.
Mm-hmm. But so that people won't catch on to it. I don't like
Unless you were a sophisticate.
And then what about her parents, her mother, her father? Like they didn't find that creepy, or they just didn't care because she was a star.
Did you see Godfather Part 1? Remember that scene where they're trying to get that Frank Sinatra stand in that job in Hollywood, and the gangsters outside the producer's house, and they watch the mama drop this girl off, and then the next morning they pick her up and the girl can hardly walk. She's hobbling because she got divergenized.
Where was this in the movie? What?
Remember where the guy they put the horse's head in his bed?
Yes. I thought I thought it was the girl walking in his home because she got cosmetic surgery or something.
No, remember the one that mama picked her up from the guy's home in the morning, and the gangsters are looking at each other in disgust because the little girl is hobbling; she can hardly walk.
No, I don't remember that part.
That's in there. It's also in the book too. Mario Puzo.
No, if it was in the book, that never made the cut for the movie.
It made the cut for the movie. I used to own the movie, so we used to sit up here and watch it.
Uncut movie. You know how they have
it was in the theater. I saw it in the theater.
I don't remember that part.
See, I had a girlfriend whose stepmother used to date me.
Slow down for a second. Slow down. I'm saying I don't remember that part.
I remember it well.
But maybe I didn't pay attention to.
Yeah, you were probably young.
I didn't know.
That was back in the 1970s.
No. I've seen The Godfather as an adult. It's a classic. But
yeah,
even if the part was there, I didn't put the two and two together. So it's just like, oh yeah, getting out of car.
But that she was getting in the car because the mother was picking her up from spending the night with the producer, and the gangsters were watching the guy's house from outside. So they wound up taking his prize race course, cut the horse's head off, and put it in bed with him.
He had dinner with the lawyer, who was the Don's lawyer, and
the producer.
Okay. I did not. I'm not saying that.
Well, it happened.
It happened. I didn't pay. And see, that's the problem. You see, I don't remember that was the reason why. But I'm pretty sure I seen that scene, but did not put two and two together.
Well,
the point I'm trying to make is a lot of things that are happening in front of our eyes, and we're not looking.
Well, like, for example, let me tell you a scene. I won't mention the name because the person is known to a lot of people. There was a certain CEO that I had to work with. And one of the stunts he pulled off was there was a minor actor, and he bribed somebody at her school to send home a false report card showing that the girl was getting D's and F's, which she wasn't. And her parents went off on her. And this executive's point was to try to get her to let him fill out an emancipation form for her and become her guardian to get her away from her mom and dad.
I think
that's how.
That, yeah.
You remember who I told you that was, so we won't.
It kind of slipped my mind, but you don't have to say the name.
We won't, but that was so low down, and the guy in question was seeing a shrink 4 days a week. So they had a thing where on the set of the show, there was a clinical psychologist that everything that this fool sent over had to go through him before it got to the set. If it was business, even if it was remote and stupid, it would go through. If it was some of the crazy stuff, then the shrink would block it.
All right, let me get to another comment. We want to see the judge on the Breakfast Club. You will never see him there, honey.
I'm not going on the Breakfast Club. Any fool that names himself out of a dark age psychopath who could give Hitler a run for the money for being sick. Go look up Charlemagne and see who he was, and then calling yourself Charlemagne the God.
Thank you. Well, this is not a super chat, but she said, I first heard Judge on We All Be. So did I. I love the interviews. We All Be. Listen, he has classic. He has the Judge, he has Dick Gregory and others. And he's very smart. I need to reach out to him to bring him on. One old guy again. Dana's show with Judge is like Paul Harvey News and Comment. Is that the guy from TMZ?
Paul Harvey.
Kamala.
Not Steve Harvey.
No.
Harvey.
Dana, love you and JJB together. JJB is one of the smartest men I've heard and still so very handsome.
Oh, thank you, my dear. You've made my day.
One old guy's opinion again. Democrats has always been big GOTs. Always been bigots. Dems like chickens with Richard's Dickies.
What are you talking about?
Dems like chickens with Richard's Dickies. Is that like, I don't see, you always get his stuff. I don't get it because maybe I'm the same generation. I don't know. You get it? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get, is that a 19?
What is the short form of Richard?
Richard who?
Just what's the short form for the name Richard?
Rick?
Dick.
Oh my God. Thank you. Does anyone notice the clothing, shoes, baby buggies, luggage, and no food or water? They are being bussed in by UN NGOs. Yeah, because I'm like, wait a minute, don't you got the kids walking from country throughout the country of Mexico? First of all, that's a long way.
The UN mandate is 600,000 minimum to come into the United States, up to 60 million.
Man,
if you want to have 60 million, that means that the population of the United States moves from 360 million to 420 million. And then remember, these folk may come from a place with a high birth rate. So instead of having your 2 point whatever number of children, they have 8 or 9, that would quickly balloon the population up. And we do have a population problem. The Midwest is essentially desert. You can't live there without irrigation, and water is becoming scarce.
One old guy's opinion again, when they get to the U.S., UN NGOs provide transportation to anywhere in the U.S. Yes, they do. The app was sold as an expedite for I-94s, and for visa applications, the refugee application feature was updated after Biden-Harris.
Yeah, it was. See, the difference between immigration and refugee is that refugee gives you a special status. If you get declared to be a refugee, you automatically become a citizen in 5 years. You don't have to go through all the rest.
These people don't qualify under the refugee term.
No, here's the thing. The president has the authority on the executive order to declare an emergency, and he may, on executive order, declare these people to be refugees and make it retroactive from 2021. So that means in 5 years, that would be 2027, which would be midterm elections for the next administration. And they're all getting bused to the battleground locations, and that's several million people that would be able to theoretically vote, and he could, or she could, issue a blanket pardon to everyone before anybody got formally charged.
One old guy's opinion, I can't use those words because of YouTube on a lie, or the whole word. Yeah. Because I also put certain restrictive words as well so that people can't comment and stuff like that. Zach, love y'all.
Maybe we're talking about Santa Claus. Ho, 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 said Santa.
Zach, love y'all for opening my eyes. Judge, on a lighter note, have you ever crossed paths with Ray Charles or Red Fox? I love your ability to tell stories. Good question.
Actually, somebody I knew lived 4 blocks from Ray Charles. So actually would run into his wife every now and then.
Wait. Somebody you knew lived 4 blocks away from Ray Charles.
A
Where?
relative
In California?
in California, yeah.
And you were running to who wife?
Ray Charles's wife. She lived up the street.
Okay.
Right off of Olympia Drive in View Park, which is a kind of a suburb of LA, near Baldwin Hills.
And so have you met him, spoken to him, or the wife?
I never met him, but I ran into his wife a few times.
She was nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about Red Fox?
Actually, yeah. Red Fox used to hang out in LA all the time.
Okay. You want to tell us about your encounter?
He was a comedian. I mean, it was like you'd run into him.
Okay, so did you have a conversation with him?
I really never had a conversation, but I spoke to him a few times. So it was just,
what did you speak about? Can you give us the tea?
No, just, hey, what's going on? He'd be right in there hanging. Like I try to be. What's he?
He was a cokehead. I heard him and Malcolm X used to run the streets before Malcolm became saved.
Well, one was known as Chicago Red, one was known as Detroit Red because they had red hair.
And they used to do drugs and sleep with white women. Before
Malcolm X, before he did time, I think he got into pimping and some rackets, and he sold a few drugs, but he reformed in the penitentiary.
That was a true reform too, and that's why I try not to judge people, because listen, if he could change, a lot of people change for the better, so it's no excuse.
I mean, Malcolm X was a sterling individual. He memorized the Webster's dictionary since he wanted to teach himself to be literate.
Yes, honey, we know Red Fox is from St. Louis, but he hung out in Detroit, so they call him Detroit Red. It's a nickname, not because he's from Detroit. All right. Listen, that's it. We have the X Space tomorrow. I think that's going to be real good. It's going to be great. It's going to be why Black men are not voting for Kamala. And the judge is going to be on the road after that on the campaign trail, stomping for Trump in Georgia. Are you just going to be in Fulton County, or are you going throughout Georgia?
Throughout.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I need to get the itinerary so I can make sure that you get a chance to meet up with Mr. Charles Rambo. He is running for sheriff of Fulton
County.
Yes. So I will put the website. Let me just say this. I will put his website in the description and in the comment section. I want you guys to go and send money and support. And if you live in Fulton County, I want you guys to vote for him.
Well, let me give you the background on the current occupant, LaButte. LaButte was a gay porn star. And we looked at some of the video. The funny thing, remember the one where the wife comes home, he gets nervous, gets out of bed with his gay lover, goes to look. The wife has seen this. She runs out crying, and the other boy says, "Get your fine ass back under me where you belong and let's get this on." And they get back in the bed naked.
The video is on my website, therealdananetwork.com.
And then remember, this guy only had 3 years as a deputy jailer's experience, and he's the sheriff. So the man we talked to was one of the supervisors and training officers and trained him.
Mm-hmm.
Such little experience he got.
Real quick. One more thing I wanted to share. This is quick though, because we talked about this. The Central Park Five, they are
Sued Trump.
Yeah, for defamation lawsuit. Let me play this clip.
That's not going to wash. The case is New York Times versus Sullivan.
You know, I carry this with me as a reminder that I can't live in fear. I have to live full so that I can die empty. But this letter right here says, the Lord will punish Yusef for what he did to that poor defenseless girl. And then directing their attention to my mother, you will also be punished for raising such an animal. He does not deserve to live, and neither do you. Folks sent this to us. They sent us letters like this. I have a whole billfold full of them. And it was all on the heels of that ad that Donald Trump placed in New York City's newspapers. Even folks like Pat Buchanan said, well, let's just take Corey Wise and hang him from a tree in Central Park. And he was urging us to do this by June 1st.
And they sent that to your house.
Yes.
I mean, it makes your stomach turn to think of you as a 16-year-old knowing you didn't do this, reading that, and for your mom to have to read that.
You know, the worst part is that my mother did read this, and she kept this away from me. I didn't even know this was in my apartment for the whole time that I was in prison. I came home to a box of letters that I had sent my mother, and attached to them was a little stack of mail that contained all of these letters. And as I read them, the first thing I thought was how strong my mother could have been to still continue forward, unafraid, unapologetic, standing up for herself, standing up for me, standing up for my brother and my sister. And she's always been like that.
So he's suing him from that
Defamation. The case is New York Times versus Sullivan, U.S. Supreme Court, 1962. It's going nowhere. And then there is the issue of, if I'm not mistaken, one of these boys had a father take him down to the police and say, he wants to tell you something about what's going on in the park. And what they'd been doing for the preceding weeks, allegedly, was terrorizing the park. And this young girl got pretty badly jacked up. And
don't go. Let me.
No, wait, no. I'm doing this as a judge, totally legal. Forget all of this bullshit with these folk that have never practiced law. They want to try to earn a buck on this. But the bottom line is that under New York Times versus Sullivan, under the circumstances, they were public figures. And a reasonable interpretation of the facts that were known in the public arena would not have been such as to not justify the comments that were delivered by Trump in his ad, which basically was a call for this girl needs justice. And if you have a case on them, then they need to be severely punished because it was a horrible crime. And not just this one girl, but a series of people that they got implicated in that led up to this. So it's not impermissible as a matter of public commentary, and these boys had made themselves public figures, and it's not anything different than what you see going on with this reaction to January 6th, where they're talking about this insurrection, which it wasn't. It was a disturbance, misdemeanor trespass, and vandalism. But you can see them calling for these people to be given an extreme sentence for what amounts to misdemeanors, which, because it's allegedly a conspiracy, becomes a felony. It's the same thing exactly that you see being hurled as allegations against the people that were involved in the January 6th incident.
Let me read this. The 5 men who were wrongly accused and convicted of brutal New York City assault in 1989, now known as the Central Park 5, on Monday sued former President Donald Trump for defamation after he once again asserted they were responsible for the crime and falsely claimed a victim had died during a debate with Vice President Kamala Harris last month. So this is for something recent that he said.
Oh, that doesn't make any difference. there is a thing in this, since you don't have instant recall, you weren't there. If you were there, you can't be a juror, you have to be a witness. So with the human vicissitudes, were they convicted? Answer, yes.
Well,
And if they were convicted, it's a pretty horrible crime. So when you have somebody convicted, what are they saying about Trump, about the 34 counts of these indictments with Stormy Daniels, which is
let me read
ridiculous,
this.
but you
Let me
know.
Let me read this. So the Central Park Five filed the claim against Trump in federal court in Pennsylvania Monday, claiming the former president defamed them, painted them in an offensive false light, and intentionally inflicted emotional distress by making his claims on a national debate stage. In response to a comment from VP Kamala Harris about Trump's lengthy history with the Central Park Five, Trump claimed during the debate the group had pleaded guilty to the assault before changing their plea to not guilty, and said they killed the person ultimately. Neither claim is true. The men never plead guilty to any crime associated with the attack, and the victim, the woman's name, now 64, is still alive. The five men maintained their innocence throughout their trial, conviction, and years spent in prison before they were exonerated in 2002 following the confession of convicted rapist and murderer Matias Reyes. Trump has, and claims dated back to 1989, repeatedly asserted the men are guilty of the crime, and said during the 2016 presidential election, the fact that the case was settled with so much evidence against them is outrageous. The lawsuits for an unspecified amount of compensatory impunity.
Compensatory. They didn't specify any amount. In other words, what they wanted for damages. But the problem is, why didn't they stand on protocol, go to trial, and see what's going on? See, what allegedly happened is they confessed, then they withdrew the confession. And what allegedly happened was one of the fathers brought one of the boys down and said he wants to confess. So it's a case of the confession going in allegedly and then being withdrawn.
But I guess they're talking about, okay, we have been, exonerated, but when you bring us up, you are saying false claims, and then he went on to say the woman died. So it's like you are defaming them.
Well, yeah, but the problem is you're presumed innocent until you're proven guilty. But the problem is you get convicted. So when you are convicted, you can talk about it. That's what the record says. But when you come back up, it doesn't mean that you personally, in your opinion, accept what is technically going on. I know people that committed crimes, good and well knew that they committed crimes. I was their lawyer. They confessed to me that they committed the damn crime. I couldn't say anything about it with the attorney-client privilege, but they wound up later on saying they hadn't committed the crime, and they got relief from it, and they were claiming to be innocent when I knew, as a matter of fact, they had committed the crime. But you can't say anything because you were one of the lawyers they consulted with. So this is a thing. Intrinsically, was the person guilty? Well, under the law, since
what
happened, he didn't. But the reality, in other words, what happens is,
examine the case. This is where I want to go with it, because they're suing Donald Trump. But what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying. They're saying that he made some comments during a debate. However,
I know that
he didn't. This is the point I'm trying to make. He didn't bring it up. Kamala Harris brought it up. So can they sue him for defamation when he's just defending?
No, they can sue him, but whether they win is a whole different order of business.
No, what I'm trying to ask is, if someone is trying to sue me for defamation, but can I say, wait a minute, that person said, accusing me of something, and I rebuttal to what someone said.
All of the above. In other words, it didn't just come up unprompted. It was in the middle of a political debate, and there was a specific allegation that he was refuting. So you just stated the salient point that comes into the debate on it. And there's another thing too. See, when somebody sues you for defamation, truth is an absolute defense. So if you want to get into relitigating it, what winds up happening is you can if they sue you for defamation. But remember, it's a civil matter, so the standard of proof is not beyond a reasonable doubt, but whether more likely than not the case was proven. So that would alter the whole doggone thing. So you'd have to retry the whole murder bit, and they open themselves up to, under a civil standard, is it more likely than not, even though beyond a reasonable doubt in further appellate proceedings wound up getting a not guilty situation on appeal. Remember, OJ got acquitted in the criminal trial and found liable in the civil trial.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So if they want to put themselves in a situation where somebody with the very deep pockets of being a billionaire is going to sit there and roast your behind in a court and prove to a civil standard that you did it civilly, you are putting yourself in a hell of a mess. And what this looks like is, I'm not saying it is in this instance, but there are many where you attempt to file and hope somebody will settle and you get some money out of it because of the nuisance value. Okay. That's the same thing that Stormy Daniels did, that wound up resulting in his getting convicted 34 counts on what was a defective series of charges by a judge who should have recused himself.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So it's going nowhere, but I mean, it's the same thing.
I just see 2 more super chats and then we're going to get out of here. Christian affirmation, why are birth rates low? Vaccines, chemtrails, Wi-Fi, question mark. This could be all those.
Because I'll tell you what it is. It's expensive raising children these days. Children are not in a situation now where they can become independent at an early age and look to themselves. And the place is getting crowded. In 1968, when we were in Vietnam, the population of the United States was listed at 186 million people. Now it's up to 360 million people. They're talking about letting in another 60 million people, which would make it 420 million. And I know when I left Los Angeles in 1972, I think it was, the population of LA County was about 1.5 million people, and they had traffic jams from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Now LA's got 18 million people in the area, and the traffic jam started 2:30 in the afternoon and run to damn near 7:30 at night. Yet it is ridiculously overcrowded. You don't need any extra people. That is bogus. So the idea that you're trying to increase the population is absolutely ridiculous, because that's why we have this schoolhouse to jailhouse pipeline. There are not enough jobs to go around under the current system here. So they store the surplus labor units, meaning people, in a warehouse known as a jail or a penitentiary. And that's what we have. So you want to bring in more people to make this even more complicated?
Last super chat of the night. It's a good one. One old guy's opinion. The current sheriff is a rooster sucker and butt dart player.
Oh boy, that was a novel one.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you to my moderators, Catalia, Southern Belle, New Party. I didn't see New Party here tonight, but X Space tomorrow, and I'll be back doing a live with me. We're going to be doing another watch party for Kamala Harris CNN Town Hall. But most importantly, thank you to everybody who sent in a donation. I love you the best. Everybody watching, please subscribe, please like, please share the video, and please comment below. Anything you want to say in parting, Judge? I'm tired.
Hang in there. It ought to be interesting. And I think Harris, Imhoff, and Tampon Tim Waltz are going nowhere.
Oh, and shout out to everybody who is watching right now on X. Yeah. All right. Oh, and tell the judge to have a safe trip on his road trip, campaign road trip. Moving, shaking, and popping. Good night.